Chapter 5309. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. After leaving the dragon's tomb, Lin Ling and the others set up camp at the 18 Dragon Mountains. Lin Ling now had a large number of dragon stones. He estimated that it was enough for him to break through to the next realm. This also made Lin Ling sigh secretly. This trip to the dragon's tomb was really fruitful. Lin Ling, have you found the way to enter the 7th level? When he was free, the 12-winged Yang god would often come to Lin Ling. They all wanted to enter the 7th level. As the leader of the forces on the 6th level, Lin Ling's information network was undoubtedly the most advanced. As long as there was news about the Yellow Emperor, the Mountain Push Gang, and the 3 guilds and 9 temples, they would immediately inform Lin Ling. Not yet. Oh, then we can only continue to stay here. Fortunately, we found a lot of dragon stones this time. We can slowly cultivate. Don't worry, if there is news, I will definitely tell you. After putting away the voice transmission talisman, Lin Ling shook his head helplessly. He had really stayed on the 6th level for a long time. Then, he looked at the towering and extraordinary 18 Dragon Mountains in the distance with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. The opening of the dragon's tomb was just one of the Dragon Mountains. How many secrets were hidden in these mysterious 18 Dragon Mountains? If he excavated all of them, he wondered what he could get. Sigh, the opening of the dragon's tomb is extremely dependent on luck. I guess if I leave the 6th level, the other Dragon Mountains may not be able to open. However, I can go and take a look at the top of the Dragon Mountains. Then, Lin Ling's heart was filled with anticipation. He immediately flew toward one of the Dragon Mountains. The Dragon Mountains were sacred and magnificent, towering into the clouds. There was an endless wind on the mountain, preventing people from reaching the top. Last time, Lin Ling had wanted to go to the top of the Dragon Mountains to explore, but in the end he failed and was stopped halfway up the mountain. This time, Lin Ling's strength was extraordinary. He hoped to reach the top. After a long time, Lin Ling appeared alone at the foot of the Dragon Mountains. He looked up at the endless mountain that looked like a dragon lying on the ground. The Dragon Mountains are the largest forbidden area on the 6th level. Lin Ling muttered to himself. With a single step, he ascended the Dragon Mountain. At the same time, a huge force enveloped Lin Ling's body. However, with Lin Ling's current strength, this gravity had no effect on him. Lin Ling's speed was not fast. He moved forward slowly, his steps steady. Gradually he reached a third of the height. At the same time, a terrifying wind began to blow. These winds were clearly different. Even though Lin Ling's body was extremely powerful, he still felt as if he would be torn apart. Fortunately, Lin Ling's recovery ability was also extremely strong. Pangu's true body was incomparably powerful. Lin Ling continued forward, but he also felt some pressure, which caused his speed to slow down. Rumble. In Lin Ling's ears, the wind howled like thunder, rumbling unceasingly. Looking up into the distance, it was as if he could see the entire 6th level. It was lonely at such a high place, but in the distance, it was grand and tranquil, as if it was a completely different world from the mountain. Lin Ling's footsteps never stopped. He continued to move forward and gradually arrived at the place where he had been last time. This was Lin Ling's limit last time. This time, although it gave Lin Ling pressure, it obviously could not stop Lin Ling from moving forward. After all, now that Lin Ling had broken through and obtained the 4 square prisons, his strength was no longer the same as it was before. Looking at the height, Lin Ling could not help but smile. He continued to move forward. Although he seemed to be climbing the mountain like an ordinary person, he knew that this also showed the difference in strength between the 2 times. It also showed that his strength had greatly increased on the 6th level. As he continued to move forward, the sound of the wind became louder. It was as if the endless power of the gods wanted to tear Lin Ling apart. This time, Lin Ling also forced his talent to fuse together. He even used the 3 extreme breaks of the universe to envelop his body and protect everything. He took a step forward, but it was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. A mysterious force of the universe prevented him from taking this step. "Your Excellency, that's enough." In the wind, There seemed to be someone wailing and someone warning Lin Ling. Lin Ling did not know whether it was an illusion or not. When he listened carefully, he could only hear the roar of the wind. It was extremely strange. The pressure is great. Not only is there a strong gravity, but there is also the mountain wind formed by the force of the universe, increasing the pressure by 100 times. Lin Ling knew that the seemingly short step was actually thousands of times greater. This meant that with every step Lin Ling took, the pressure would increase by thousands of times. After taking 3 steps, Lin Ling's speed stopped. He looked back and found that he was only a dozen meters away from where he had been last time. Is this the only improvement? Lin Ling shook his head and stepped forward again. All the strength in his body erupted. Panga's real body. Panga's finger. 3 extreme breaks of the universe. Lin Ling's universe. The power of the world's will. Talent fusion. All kinds of powerful methods were released to resist the wind from the mountaintop. Lin Ling turned his head and looked into the distance. He found that this place was even higher. It was so high that he could overlook the entire 6th level. It made him feel as if he had entered the 6th level sky. Looking around again, the place parallel to the mountain was full of clouds. It was all grand mist energy. Interesting. Lin Ling had a strange feeling in his heart. It was as if he had touched the peak of the Dao Pagoda. His heart, mind, memory, and experience had all improved by leaps and bounds. However, when he sensed it carefully, he did not know what the improvement was. He only knew that this trip to Dragon Mountain would be of great help to him. But when Lin Ling took another step, a terrible gravity arrived. It was as if the universe of the 9 worlds was suppressing Lin Ling's body. Lin Ling's bones, flesh, and meridians were all under unprecedented pressure. This pressure was gravity. One had to know that Lin Ling had fought until now. He had seen gods with powerful divine power and also fought against them. However, this was the first time he had encountered someone who attacked him with supergravity. Under such circumstances, Lin Ling's Panga's real body was also stimulated to the limit. His body was constantly changing. It was as if the cells in his body had turned into a universe. The universe collapsed and then reformed. The newly born universe was more condensed and magnificent. Unknowingly, Lin Ling's physical strength was also increasing crazily. Gradually, it reached 60 trillion. This shocked Lin Ling. This Dragon Mountain could temper one's physical strength? Lin Ling could not help but be interested. This was an extremely rare place to temper one's physical body. Immediately, he summoned the square prison. Now, with his own strength, he had reached his limit. He had only reached 2/3 of the height of Dragon Mountain. If he wanted to continue, he could only rely on the protection of the square prison. In the square prison, there was a mysterious force that could form a super strong whirlpool that could suck any god into it. Lin Ling could only fully control this mysterious force after he obtained the square prison. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the square prison appeared and turned into stone tablets. They circled around Lin Ling's body so that Lin Ling could face the strong wind blowing down from the mountain. However, the gravity was still on Lin Ling's body. This also allowed Lin Ling's Panga's real body to continue to improve. 70 trillion fleshly body power. 80 trillion physical strength. 900,000. Even Lin Ling did not expect his physical strength to increase so much on Dragon Mountain. Chapter 5310. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. The gale came, tearing apart the universe. Lin Ling continued to take slow steps. It seemed like a simple step, but it took Lin Ling quite a bit of time. His Panga body had been tempered by the gale and gravity, and it gradually stopped at 9 trillion, and its speed of improvement slowed down. Lin Ling also realized that his fleshly body was reaching its limit. But when Lin Ling raised his head, the mountain peak was already in sight. The mountain peak was surrounded by dense mist, and it was magnificent and mysterious. Let's go up and take a look. Lin Ling felt a sense of anticipation. It was as though he had come in vain if he did not reach the mountain peak. He continued to move forward with steady steps. In the second half of the mountain, his body was not tall, and he was even skinny. but it gave people the illusion that he was a giant. The closer he got to the mountain peak, the greater the pressure. The crazy gale tore apart Lin Ling's ears. His whole world disappeared, and only the whistling of the gale remained. Lin Ling knew that his body had been torn apart countless times under the enormous pressure. But Pangu's body had heaven-defying defense, and it could recover in an instant. This made Lin Ling feel that even if a late-stage deity giant god's attack could injure him, Lin Ling could also recover quickly. When he was only a step away from the mountain peak, Lin Ling stopped. He felt that he was blocked by a huge door. The mountain peak had a powerful pressure that prevented people from approaching, as though it was another world. The pressure of the ancestral dragon. Lin Ling guessed something, but he only paused for a moment before continuing to move forward. After he stretched out his left leg, his flesh and blood instantly disappeared, turning into white bones, which were destroyed by the final gale. Then cracks appeared on the white bones and they collapsed, turning into fine powder. But Lin Ling did not stop, and his body continued to move forward. A terrifying thing happened. When he stepped onto the mountain peak, the flesh and blood of his left hand disappeared, turning into white bones. Then the white bones cracked, collapsed, and disappeared. Next, it was his chest and then his body. Lin Ling's entire body was changing, from white bones to shattered bones. But what was shocking was that when his body turned into fine powder, he had also stepped onto the mountain peak. Countless fine powder lingered, and gradually, Lin Ling's body turned back to normal. This was the power of the Pangu's body. Lin Ling also appeared on the mountain peak. The mountain peak was not big, and it was only a dozen meters or so, but there was no gale. There was only the warm spring wind. Standing there, not to mention the sixth level, even the greatest heavenly secrets of the sixth level seemed to be visible. Looking along the parallel lines, there was a beautiful sea of clouds. White clouds drifted leisurely, as thick as cotton. However, in the rolling clouds, several vortexes appeared and swept towards the ground. Could those whirlpools be the way out of the sixth level? Lin Ling's eyes lit up, and he revealed an excited smile. It seemed that he had accidentally walked to the top of Dragon Mountain, but he had found the way to the next level. But now, it seemed that those whirlpools would take some time to form. Lin Ling memorized those directions, and then he sensed his body. Only then did he realize that his Panga's body had stepped into 10 trillion units of strength, and he had become a 7-star Pangu. 7 stars appeared on Lin Ling's forehead, and they were extremely ancient, but they quickly disappeared. Panga's body, the universe's #1 physical body. Lin Ling smiled, closed his eyes, and enjoyed the comfortable wind on the mountain peak. Young friend. But at this moment, a smile came to Lin Ling's ears, and Lin Ling opened his eyes, which were filled with surprise. This was the top of the mountain, and there was someone here? Young friend, you're the first person I saw on the 6th level to reach the top of Dragon Mountain. The kind voice came again. Senior, where are you? Yi Han immediately replied with a smile. I'm at the top of Dragon Mountain in the southeast. The other party smiled. It turned out that he was also someone who had reached the top of Dragon Mountain like Lin Ling. Lin Ling's interest was piqued. There was actually someone on the 6th level who was as curious as him about the top of Dragon Mountain. However, if the other party could reach the top of Dragon Mountain, his physical body must be extremely powerful. Lin Ling already knew that if he wanted to reach the top of Dragon Mountain, he could not rely on the power of a god. You are. At this moment, the kind voice came again. Lin Ling. Lin Ling did not hide it. Hee, I'm Ju Chuan. The two of them had a short conversation, and they knew each other. Moreover, although they had not met each other before because they had both reached the top of Dragon Mountain, they had a sense of mutual understanding. After a long time, Lin Ling left the top of Dragon Mountain. Because Panga's body had been upgraded, it was much easier to go down. Lin Ling, where did you go? Why can't I contact you? Just as he walked down Dragon Mountain, Inuer's voice came with a hint of anxiety. What's wrong? Lin Ling was a little puzzled. He did not expect that at the top of Dragon Mountain, there would be a sound barrier. We found Yu. And Yuer said happily, she's the Feng Moyong you mentioned. Last time, Lin Ling had told everyone his guess, and everyone agreed that Feng Moyang was Yuyu. However, after entering Dragon Tomb, Feng Moyang disappeared. "Wait, I'll go find you immediately." Lin Ling was overjoyed. Yuyu's disappearance had always been his sore point. Then, his figure disappeared and reappeared in a hall. There were many people gathered here, including Yin Yuer, Lei Gong, the Yellow Emperor, Sakura, and others. After seeing Lin Ling, everyone smiled in unison. "Yu is with the Giant God clan." And Yuer ran over and explained, "I heard that someone is proposing marriage and wants Yu to marry him." This is the news that the people of the 3 societies and 9 temples found out. The Giant God clan? Lin Ling's expression changed slightly. The Giant God clan was one of the 12 God clans, and their origins were extremely mysterious. When Lin Ling was on the 6th level, he had never seen this clan. How did you know someone from the Giant God clan? Moreover, someone was proposing marriage? Lin Ling couldn't help but recall Yuyu's identity in the Chaos Realm. She came from one of the 8 great God clans and seemed to have a considerable background. "Lin Ling, you must bring Yuyu back." And Yuer said again, her voice filled with anxiety. She and Yuyu were like sisters. After not seeing each other for so many years, she was naturally very worried. "Don't worry, I'll definitely bring her back." Lin Ling nodded and looked at the Yellow Emperor. "Old brother Yellow Emperor, do you know where the Giant God clan is? Also, it won't be easy to bring Yuyu back this time. When the time comes, I'll have to trouble you to help me." "You're too kind." The Yellow Emperor and the others shook their heads. Lin Ling was too polite. Lin Ling nodded. The other party was with the Giant God clan, and the Giant God clan was one of the most mysterious of the 12 God clans. Thus, he had made some preparations. "Lin Ling, I've found it. The Giant God clan is east of the 6th level." At the same time, the Yellow Emperor looked at the token in his hand. They had people all over the 6th level, so it would be easy for them to find the Giant God clan's whereabouts. "Alright, I'll go take a look first. You guys come after me." Lin Ling was also somewhat anxious and hurriedly left. Chapter 53:11. In the east, he had left the 18 Dragon Mountains region. Speaking of which, this was the first time Lin Ling left the 18 Dragon Mountains after entering the 6th level. He vaguely remembered that when he first arrived at the 6th level, Lin Ling met many enemies. These enemies worked together to kill Lin Ling, forcing Lin Ling to hide in the 18 Dragon Mountains. And, unknowingly, Lin Ling had grown up in the 18 Dragon Mountains and eventually became the overlord of the 6th level. Walking along the dense forest, it didn't take long for the view in front to widen, and plains appeared. But at this time, several figures flew over from afar, landing not far away from Lin Ling. When they saw Lin Ling, they were obviously surprised. Sir. As you wish." Afterwards, these people strolled over with arrogance on their faces. They could see that Lin Ling was merely an initial stage deity realm universe giant god, but some of them were middle stage deity realm universe giant gods. Lin Ling was surprised, but he stopped and smiled at these people. Sir, are you from the 18 Dragon Mountains?" "Sir." One of the men asked indifferently. "Senior brother, I don't think he knows. He isn't very strong and should be a passerby in the 18 Dragon Mountains." "Sir." Beside the man, a girl said with disdain. The youth in front of her was merely an initial stage deity realm universe giant god. This strength was weak even in the 6th level, let alone in the 18 Dragon Mountains. Because they knew that the 18 Dragon Mountains had quietly become the core ground of the 6th level. Because this was where most of the experts gathered. It's fine. After all, this is our first time coming to the 18 Dragon Mountains. That man did not mind and continued to look at Lin Ling. And Lin Ling shook his head inwardly. He did not understand where these people got their confidence from. But he did not mind. He wanted to see what they wanted to ask. "Do you know where the strongest overlord of the 18 Dragon Mountains is?" That man asked. "The strongest overlord?" Lin Ling frowned. "I guessed it right. He doesn't know." Seeing Lin Ling's suspicious look, the girl who disdained Lin Ling shook her head. Indeed, they had asked for nothing. Sigh, aren't you from the 18 Dragon Mountains? How could he not know this? Well then. The man grumbled, thinking that he had asked for nothing. We're here to join the strongest overlord. I heard that the strongest overlord is the strongest in the 6th level. If we join them, we can do whatever we want in the 6th level, and we'll even have the chance to follow them to the 7th level. In the end, you actually didn't know. It seems that your trip to the 18 Dragon Mountains was also a waste. Nonsense. After that, the man wanted to lead everyone away. Young man, with your strength, you shouldn't wander around the 18 Dragon Mountains for now. Go somewhere else. I know why you don't know who the strongest overlord is. It's because you're too weak and they don't even want to know you. The woman said condescendingly as she left with the man. Lin Ling pursed his lips. Throughout the entire process, it was these few people who were talking. He couldn't even get a word in. While moreover, the strongest overlord of the 18 Dragon Mountains. Why didn't he know about it? Perhaps he had stayed in the Dragon Tomb for too long and did not know what had happened to the 18 Dragon Mountains. Wait, what is this strongest overlord you speak of? Lin Ling looked at the few people who had left and finally asked. Then the man paused and looked at Lin Ling with disdain. He smiled and said, seeing that you are not a bad person and are not arrogant, I will tell you. That person is called Lin Ling, and he is the overlord of the 6th floor. In the entire 6th floor, only the giant god clan can be as famous as him, and he is also the strongest king of the 18 Dragon Mountains. Your luck is not good. You actually did not meet his people in the 18 Dragon Mountains and missed the opportunity. What a pity! After saying this, the man led everyone away, and a light laughter drifted over. It was as if Lin Ling was not qualified to be valued by that overlord, but they were. Lin Ling, it was actually Lin Ling. Lin Ling stood in place and shook his head helplessly. He had thought that there was some kind of strongest overlord, but it turned out that it was himself. Only yes, how did he become so famous? So many people in the 18 Dragon Mountains knew his name. Lazy. Ignoring them, Lin Ling continued to head east. The 6th floor. The 6th floor was very large, like a vast universe. Few people had ever gone to the eastern limit. However, the great gods of the 6th floor all knew that the eastern limit was the territory of an ancient race. Their origins were mysterious, and they had endless years of history. They were also the existences that could not be provoked, because they were the giants of the gods, also known as the giant god clan of the 12 god clans. Lin Ling continued forward, passing through the scorching desert and the bone-chilling frozen earth. After a long time, he finally reached the eastern limit. Fang at a glance, there were very few gods here and few people. In front of him was a huge and ancient forest. The mountains were like Mount Tai, and the trees were like giant cities. In the dense forest, the terrifying cries of monsters could be heard. In the depths of the forest, there was a mountain that reached into the clouds. At the top of the mountain was a huge palace. The giant god clan was located there. Because the mountain was too tall, one had to walk to the top. After all, there was too much primordial energy at the top of the sky. This primordial energy was something that no god dared to face. Boom! Rumble! Lin Ling stood at the outermost edge of the forest. It was as if he was looking at a divine beast with its mouth wide open, waiting to devour him. However, at this moment, there was a rumble in the air. He saw an island flying toward the forest. Its speed was incomparably fast, and it was as agile as a butterfly. It avoided the towering ancient trees. Roar! The cries of beasts came from the depths of the forest. Next, huge trees collapsed. A divine mammoth that was thousands of miles tall and covered in long hair galloped over. Universe divine mammoth. Seeing the mammoth divine elephant, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He knew that this divine elephant was extremely terrifying. It could survive in the universe's starry skies and sweep through the various universes. When its giant legs stomped down, not many universes could withstand it. Most importantly, these divine mammoths had very strong defenses. Their fur could resist large amounts of divine power. Unless it was physical strength, it was very difficult to injure them. It was targeting the island. Then Lin Ling saw something. Fruit. However, the gigantic mammoth swept its trunk and smashed towards the island in anger. Buzz. Buzz. Island. Suddenly, a divine light bloomed from the island, illuminating the sky. When the huge trunk landed on the island, it only caused the island to sink a little. Boom. At the same time, a powerful sword intent exploded from the island. It was like the fury of the sky, furiously slashing at the divine mammoth. Lin Ling clearly saw a white-robed male standing at the edge of the island. He held a broken sword and slashed at the sky. This sword's power was extremely terrifying. The void was cut open, and the entire ancient forest was affected, swaying non-stop. What a powerful divine power, Lin Ling said. Ling's eyes narrowed slightly. He knew that the white-robed male was very strong. He should be an invincible existence among the late-stage deity realm giant gods. Kacha! Boom! At the same time, one of the divine mammoth's tusks was cut off and fell to the ground with a rumble. It's just a universe divine mammoth. Its immunity against divine power is beyond imagination. Chapter 53:12. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, Young Master Heaven Hater. Someone actually came to Little Sky Forest. This person is definitely not an invited guest. After all, the invited guest used the giant god tribe's teleportation array to reach the palace. A beautiful woman appeared next to the white-robed man and bowed slightly to him. She wore a gauze dress as thin as a silkworm's wing. Whether it was her looks or her figure, she was top-notch. Moreover, there were many beauties like her. At this moment, they were walking out of the island one after another. As these women looked at the white-robed man, their gazes were filled with worship and longing. I know. The white-robed man smiled confidently and looked off into the distance with disdain. His eyes landed on the man in the blue and white robe. Not everyone can pass through Little Sky Forest. Based on his strength, he'll most likely die here. He probably came here because of the reputation. Too bad he can't see himself clearly. Young Master Heaven Hater, not everyone is like you, daring to be late to the giant god tribe's invitation and entering the palace through Little Sky Forest. The beautiful woman in the white dress said with a smile. Her eyes imitated young Master Heaven Hater's as she stared into the distance. Her gaze landed on the man in the blue and white robe. There are so many men in the world, but not all of them are young Master Heaven Hater. Hearing this, the white-robed man shook his head and strolled into the forest. The women followed quietly, as if they were following the sun, the stars, and life in their hearts. After all, young Master Heaven Hater was the only sun in their hearts. Rumble. At the same time, terrifying monsters rushed out from the ancient forest once again. However, the island was extremely fast, emitting circles of ripples as if it had disappeared into the void. It avoided the attacks of the monsters and gradually disappeared into the distance. This island seemed to have a spirit. It was not an inanimate object. Interesting. At this moment, Lin Ling was still standing in the outermost area of Little Sky Forest. With his strength, he could naturally hear the conversation of the people on the island. He had not expected that the white-robed man was young Master Heaven Hater, the one who wanted to marry Yu. Moreover, this person also thought highly of himself. The number of goddesses following him was beyond imagination. This person wants to marry Yu, so he must have a motive. However, he is very confident, as if no woman in the world can escape from his grasp. Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. If it were any other woman, he wouldn't care at all. Even if young Master Heaven Hater had many wives and concubines, he wouldn't have the time to care. However, the person that heaven-hating young master wanted was Yu, and she was Lin Ling's wife. How could Lin Ling ignore it? So there are other ways to enter the palace. I wonder if Brother Yellow Emperor and the others have gotten the invitation. Looks like I was too impatient and took the long way instead. Moreover, there's a strange power in young Master Henshin's body. It's very strong, and it's very similar to the power of Zhang Jian, the Taoist child, and Ning Qingxin. I reckon that he should also be one of the 9 stars of the universe. The 9 stars of the universe are the nemesis of the will of the world. Their power can restrain the power of the will of the world. Therefore, if you want to win against the 9 stars of the universe, you have to rely on your own power. Lin Ling muttered to himself. As he slowly walked into the pitch-black little sky forest. At this moment, in the forest that was as thick as a giant city, the universal sacred elephant that had its tusks cut off was still there. It let out an angry roar, as if its prey had escaped. It was extremely unhappy. However, at this moment, it sensed a faintly discernible aura approaching. This caused its huge ears to twitch slightly. Finally, it sensed that aura. Bang bang bang. It galloped on all fours looking at that aura. Its red eyes were filled with wild madness. In the forest that was as big as a city, a tiny figure was moving forward. This figure was wearing a blue and white robe. Compared to the huge trees around him, he seemed out of place. This person was like a tiny person who had arrived in the world of giants. It was also like a mortal who had entered the realm of legends. Bang bang bang. The earth continued to shake. After a moment, a huge elephant appeared in front of that person. Compared to the two, this person was even smaller than the elephant's eyes. The universal sacred elephant let out a thunderous roar. A violent wind blew, and the bridge-like grass on the ground was uprooted. The universal sacred elephant seemed to be furious. This was because it had let its prey escape. Fortunately, another ignorant human had arrived. It was just the right time for it to vent its anger. Are you looking for trouble with me? At this moment, that tiny human raised his head and said with slight dissatisfaction. He was naturally Lin Ling. He also knew that the universal sacred elephant in front of him was the one that had battled with young Master Heaven Hater. Unfortunately, young Master Heaven Hater had cut off one of its tusks. You can't catch up with young Master Heaven Hater, so you're venting your anger on me? Do you think that I'm not as good as young Master Heaven Hater, and that I'm easier to provoke than him? Lin Ling said again. His eyes narrowed, and there was helplessness and dissatisfaction. The universal giant elephant clearly had spiritual energy. It could understand Lin Ling's words. It let out another roar, and then its huge palms ruthlessly stomped down. This stomp could break the universe. It was so terrifying. Previously, young Master Heaven Hater had blocked this pair of palms with a sword. Rumble. However, Lin Ling only raised his left hand slightly. His seemingly thin and weak palm exploded with a powerful force, making it difficult for the pair of palms in the sky to stomp down. At the same time, 7 stars appeared on Lin Ling's forehead, representing the 7-star Panga body. At this moment, the universal giant elephant was obviously stunned. It didn't expect this tiny human to be able to block its palms. Moreover, compared to the previous man, this human in front of it seemed to be even more terrifying. This was because it couldn't detect any divine power on this human. It seemed that he relied on a powerful physical body. It suddenly looked at Lin Ling's eyes and realized that Lin Ling's eyes were cold and emotionless. That gaze quietly made its huge elephant body break out in a cold sweat. The universal sacred elephant was able to survive until now. In addition to its terrifying power, it also had the innate ability to understand the universe's Tao. It was also because of this that it detected a terrifying danger from Lin Ling. However, this detection undoubtedly came too late. Scram! At this moment, Lin Ling indifferently spat out a word. His right hand, which was behind his back, suddenly punched out. It was as if a gust of violent wind blasted out, blasting out a powerful universe's origin. Under that violent wind, the universal sacred elephant let out a violent roar. Its eyes were filled with panic, and there was even a human-like plea for mercy. But everything was too late. The punch of the powerful physical body was like a pangu splitting heaven and earth. The long hair on the universal sacred elephant's body was shattered, its flesh and blood dissolved, and its bones shattered. Finally, everything turned into fine powder. Voila! And that ferocious punch didn't stop. It landed in the forest in the distance, causing a large number of giant city-like trees to collapse. Only a tiny figure continued to move forward. Previously, young Master Heaven Hater's sword had cut off the universal giant elephant's tusks, but Lin Ling's punch had turned it into fine powder. Rumble. Next, rumbling sounds continuously came from the forest. As long as it was a divine beast in front of Lin Ling, the universe ape, the universe black bear, and everything else would be turned into fine powder by his punch. He strolled forward like this and ascended the ancient sacred mountain. Gradually, the palace came into view. Chapter 53:13. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Lin Ling didn't stop and entered the palace. Surprisingly, it was quite lively inside. A large number of gods were gathered there, eating, drinking, and chatting merrily. The strength of the gods here was clearly extraordinary. Most of them were late-stage giant universe gods, and their origins were extremely ancient. However, Lin Ling didn't recognize most of the people here. He walked along the tables and chairs, ignoring the people around him. The gods chatting merrily around him also ignored him. The main reason was that the gods here all had great backgrounds and were from all walks of life. Most of them didn't know each other, so naturally, no one paid any attention to Lin Ling. After that, Lin Ling found an empty table and sat down. He glanced around and saw that there was a special divine wine on the table. He didn't act pretentious and picked it up to eat and drink. He looked around the hall and found that the decorations here were ancient. Whether it was the pillars or the tables and chairs, they were all larger than usual. I don't see you. How did you get to know someone from the giant god clan? Lin Ling frowned and pondered as he drank. Soon after, he saw young Master Heaven Hater in white robes sitting at a table on the left. This person was surrounded by beautiful women, and they served him as if he was an emperor. Moreover, many people were greeting him. These people all knew young Master Heaven Hater. Lin Ling could vaguely hear that these people were from the primal chaos realm. This meant that young Master Heaven Hater was also from the primal chaos realm, so these people were giving him face. Everyone here probably knows that young Master Heaven Hater wants to marry Yuyu. Why doesn't Yuyu leave? Could it be that she's been captured by the giant god clan? Are they using this to threaten Yuyu? Lin Ling pondered. He didn't know much about Feng Moyang's origins, but since Feng Moyang was from the primal chaos realm, he probably knew young Master Heaven Hater. Moreover, he remembered that when he first met Feng Moyang in the primal chaos realm, he had a snake tail. If he guessed correctly, the most famous characteristic of a snake tail in the primal chaos realm was the Nuwa clan. Could it be that Feng Moyang was from the Nuwa clan? Although Lin Ling wasn't too familiar with the primal chaos realm, he had heard about the 8 great gods from his senior sister Qingzhu. If Yuyu was truly a member of Nuwa clan, it would also explain why Lin Ling couldn't sense her. Why was that feeling so effective? It seems that young Master Henshin's intention to marry Yuyu is not sincere. He has some other purpose. However, to have designs on my wife, young Master Henshin's guts are really not small. Lin Ling coldly snorted in his heart. Yuyu was no longer his fiancée, but his real wife. If it was any other man here, they would have taken action. Young Master, look. While Lin Ling was drinking alone, heaven-hating young Master was also drinking with the big shots of the primal chaos realm. However, a woman beside him reminded him in a low voice. There were many beauties around Heaven Hentian, and they looked left and right. Naturally, someone noticed Lin Ling. Heaven Hentian didn't care at first, but after a casual glance, his pupils constricted subconsciously. Wasn't this the youth he saw in the sky forest? One had to know that all the gods present had come from the teleportation array in the palace. Only Heaven Hentian had come from the sky forest. This meant that his strength and identity were different from the rest. After all, he was also from the 10,000 Years Mountain in the primal chaos realm, and he was also the disciple of one of the 8 great earth immortal ancestors. He should have been so glorious. But who knew that there was another person present who had come from the sky forest? Although he was the only one who knew this, he was still extremely displeased. Interesting. There are many divine beasts in the sky forest. They were brought here by the giant god clan in the primal chaos era. Someone who can walk through the sky forest must have extraordinary strength. Although Heaven Hentian was displeased, he still smiled calmly on the surface. Young Master Hentian, that brat is so hateful. What qualifications does he have to be on the same level as you? The beauty next to him objected, feeling unconvinced on behalf of Heaven Hintian. Don't be too stingy. If someone can walk through the sky forest, it means that there are still experts in the Dao Pagoda. Come, let's go greet them. Young Master Heaven Hater said with a smile. He stepped forward and walked towards Lin Ling. Behind him was a group of beauties, but those beauties looked at Lin Ling with disdain. This brat's luck was pretty good. He could make Heaven Hentian pay a personal visit. Heaven Hentian's departure attracted a lot of attention. Everyone was curious. Who could make Heaven Hentian take the initiative to greet? Many people knew that although today seemed like a gathering, they were actually here to witness Heaven Hentian's marriage proposal. It was said that the giant god clan's Feng Moyang was also a disciple of a sect in the 10,000 Years Mountain, and Heaven Hentian was also a disciple of the 10,000 Years Mountain. The two had a long history. This little friend is so elegant. Are you drinking alone? Heaven Hentian arrived in front of Lin Ling's table and lightly smiled. Everyone looked at Lin Ling in surprise. To be able to come to this palace, they were all highly respected individuals, but none of them had ever seen Lin Ling before. Lin Ling was also a bit surprised. This Heaven Hentian actually took the initiative to look for him? Can't I drink alone? Lin Ling lightly replied, not giving Heaven Hentian any face. This person is so rude. The women behind Heaven Hentian were angered. Heaven Hentian was a famous person in the chaos world. All the old seniors present gave him face, but this strange youth was actually so arrogant. Of course you can. Heaven Hentian didn't seem to be angry. He continued to smile and said, I should have seen you before. Since we've met, then it must be fate. How about a drink? I'm not free. Lin Ling still didn't give him any face and coldly replied. Heaven Hentian was stunned. He didn't expect this young man to not give him any face. For a moment, he was a bit embarrassed. Perhaps because he was too famous in the chaos world, no one didn't give him some face. This was his first time being humiliated, so he couldn't react in time. Do you know any etiquette? On the contrary, the beauties behind Heaven Hentian couldn't hold back anymore. What etiquette? He asked me to drink, so I have to drink? Lin Ling indifferently looked at the beauties and said, Excuse me, do I know him? Excuse me, have I seen him before? Excuse me, do you know my name? Those beauties couldn't refute Lin Ling. After all, they really didn't know Lin Ling. They didn't even know what Lin Ling's name was. Since you don't know anything, then you're a stranger. Why should I drink with a stranger? Lin Ling saw their dumbfounded expressions and shook his head with a smile. He's Heaven Hentian. Finally, one of the beauties said unwillingly. Is that so? Then, do I know Heaven Hentian? Lin Ling sneered and asked again. His words made the beauty speechless. Interesting. It seems that I was reckless. At this time, Heaven Hentian faintly smiled and dispelled the awkward atmosphere. However, he was furious. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many big shots present and that today was the day of his marriage proposal, he would have attacked. For the sake of his demeanor and face, he finally endured it. But at this time, a figure walked out from another door of the palace. It was a young man. Obviously, he didn't come from the sky forest. Instead, he came from the teleportation device. This person was obviously extraordinary, causing Heaven Hentian to look at him solemnly. Then he smiled and said, So it's Zhang Jian. I didn't expect that you would also come to the 6th level. That's right, this person was Zhang Jian, one of the 9 stars of the universe. Chapter 53:14. As one of the 9 universe stars, Zhang Jian's origin was a mystery, and not many people knew about him. Only young Master Heaven Hater knew about him. This was because a long time ago, the 9 universe stars had a gathering, and everyone had a brief acquaintance. At the same time, Lin Ling was also staring at the young man who had suddenly arrived. His eyes flashed slightly. It was actually him? Of course, Lin Ling recognized Zhang Jian. Back on the 5th floor, he had once lost to Lin Ling. Lin Ling remembered that Zhang Jian had not killed him. Instead, he had allowed Zhang Jian to become stronger before fighting him. Unexpectedly, this guy had also come to the 6th floor. Zongjian, you're actually here too. At this moment, young Master Heaven Hater shouted indifferently. Who is this person? How can young Master Heaven Hater recognize him? With this shout, the expressions of everyone present changed slightly. Young Master Heaven Hater came from the Chaos Realm and was not very familiar with the gods of the Dao Tower. However, for young Master Heaven Hater to personally greet this person, this undoubtedly meant something. This person must be an extremely famous figure in the Dao Tower. Otherwise, young Master Heaven Hater would not recognize him at all. What? I can't come? Zongjian's expression was as arrogant as before. His eyes looked at young Master Heaven Hater, and there was a slight fighting spirit on his face. He, Zongjian, was a rising star among the 9 universe stars and had always been unconvinced by these seniors. However, he had luckily obtained an opportunity and his strength had greatly increased. Naturally, he wanted to challenge these seniors. Sure. Ordinary people are not qualified to attend the Giant God Clan's banquet, but how can you, Zongjian, not be qualified? Young Master Heaven Hater smiled faintly. Although Zongjian's strength was inferior to his, because they were both from the 9 universe stars, his potential was extraordinary, causing young Master Heaven Hater to give him some respect. However, he was an outstanding figure among the 9 universe stars. Respect was respect, but he would not lower his head. You came from the Giant God Clan's teleportation array, right? I came from Little Sky Forest. Young Master Heaven Hater suddenly laughed. His words caused Zongjian's eyes to widen. He naturally knew what Little Sky Forest represented. It was said to be the backyard of the divine beasts raised by the Giant God Clan. Ordinary people did not dare to approach it. However, young Master Heaven Hater dared to do so, and he even passed through Little Sky Forest to reach the palace. This was undoubtedly a level higher than Zongjian. Young Master Heaven Hater had been staring at Zongjian. When he saw the latter's expression freeze, he instantly knew that the other party was displeased. All of a sudden, a thought arose in his mind and he laughed. Of course, I'm not the only one. There's another person who also came from the small sky forest. I'm afraid that his reputation isn't inferior to mine. He's also the second person here. He deliberately raised that person up to arouse Zongjian's jealousy. Is that so? As expected, Zongjian's voice became low, and he was even more displeased. The fact that young Master Heaven Hater had surpassed him was something that he could not accept at all. However, the other party had quite the background after all. Yet, there was someone else who could surpass him as well. How could he swallow this anger? Also, this person looks to be about your age. Heaven-hating young master said again. It sounded like he was praising him, but in fact, it was a disaster. I'd like to see what kind of person he is. Zongjian narrowed his eyes, and the raging flames of war burned in his eyes. Young Master Heaven Hater, you're so bad. The beauties behind young Master Heaven Hater were very puzzled at first, but on second thought, they understood. Young Master Heaven Hater was putting the potential of war on that young man. Zongjian was a rising star, but he had an unruly personality. He could not tolerate a grain of sand in his eyes, so he would definitely attack that person. There's a good show to watch. That man named Zongjian was personally named by young Master Heaven Hater, which means that his strength is not bad. The person who is targeted by him will definitely be unlucky. Many people quietly looked at Lin Ling. They also knew who young Master Heaven Hater was targeting. In fact, I'm not too sure about who he is, but he's on the field. You can ask him yourself. Seeing that the time was about right, young Master Heaven Hater sat down and picked up his wine glass to drink. At the same time, he looked indifferently at Lin Ling. That young man had refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. He probably did not know how powerful young Master Heaven Hater was. Now, he would let him suffer Zongjian's anger. Young Master Heaven Hater knew very well that Zongjian's burial universe was extremely powerful. It's him. Not much. Zongjian's gaze swept over and landed on Lin Ling. At first, he snorted coldly in disdain, but soon his pupils trembled fiercely. Isn't this Lin Ling? His body trembled quietly as he walked step by step toward Lin Ling. The battle in the past seemed to have happened yesterday. Every move, bit by bit, flowed into his mind. He knew Lin Ling's origin. He was Qin Zhu's junior brother, and his master was Patriarch Subhuti. His origin could be said to be a thunderous existence. The most terrifying thing was that Lin Ling's world willpower had reached the ancient level and had once crushed him. Even when Zhang Jian thought that Lin Ling was going to kill him, Lin Ling let him go. Zhang Jian even asked him to challenge Lin Ling after he became stronger. Zhang Jian came from a small world. Because of his ordinary background, many gods did not approve of him. If he did not possess the power of the stars of the universe, he would not even have the qualifications to enter the Dao Pagoda. And Lin Ling was the only person who respected him. He was not arrogant after defeating him. Interesting. Zhang Jian is actually so excited. Maybe he can kill that young man. Young Master Heaven Hater stared at Zhang Jian and then laughed mockingly. Young Master, you're so bad. The beauties next to him also covered their mouths and laughed, but one of them shook her head in disdain and said, that young man is not qualified to make you attack him. Zhang Jian has a higher status than him. Your Excellency. Just when everyone thought that a fierce battle was about to begin, Zhang Jian suddenly bowed to Lin Ling. What? Everyone was dumbfounded. Young Master Heaven Hater even forgot to drink, and his pupils widened. You've also come to the 6th floor. Lin Ling smiled faintly and said, your strength has improved. This 6th floor can't accommodate you at all. It's better to go to the 7th floor. Your Excellency is right. I was just casually looking around, but I didn't expect you to be here. It's my honor. Zhang Jian respected Lin Ling very much. Putting everything else aside, Lin Ling had defeated him and did not kill him. Zhang Jian already owed Lin Ling his life. Don't talk about honor. If you know each other, you're friends. Come, sit down and drink. Lin Ling's personality was that he was fierce to his enemies and good to his friends. Since Zhang Jian was a friend, he was naturally very polite. Okay, I can't ask for more than a drink with you. Let me pour the wine. Zhang Jian was delighted. He poured Lin Ling a glass of wine and shouted, is there anyone? Bring another pot of wine. Seeing the two of them talking politely and Zhang Jian personally pouring wine, everyone was stunned. Weren't they going to fight? How did it become a gathering of friends? Moreover, this was the arrogant and unruly Zhang Jian from before? This Zhang Jian really has no backbone. Among the crowd, young Master Heaven Hater was undoubtedly the most puzzled. He had always been calm, but at this moment, his face was somewhat dark. Zhang Jian's attitude towards him was also arrogant. Why was he so polite to that young man? Could it be that young Master Heaven Hater was even inferior to that young man? Thank you for giving me face. However, at this moment, a large number of people arrived. Among them, Feng Moyang was also in the group, following with a cold face. Chapter 53:15. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. These people who had suddenly arrived were all tall and sturdy. Their long hair fell to their shoulders, and they had a wild aura. Their muscles were extremely solid, and their skin was the color of wheat. They were like the first batch of humans after the creation of the universe. They were from the Giant God clan. The Giant God clan was the most ancient existence among the 12 God clans. According to legend, they were the ancestors of humanity and the descendants of Pangu. They were different from the other gods. They did not like to interact with the outside world and hid in a corner of the universe, living a peaceful life. If not for the arrival of the great calamity of the world's will, this most ancient clan would probably still be unknown. Moreover, there were rumors that the place where they lived was actually the origin of the universe. That was also the place where the creation of the universe began. Therefore, the gods of the entire universe treated this mysterious clan with great respect and even a hint of fear. This was because this clan's combat strength was very strong, and their physical bodies were comparable to the universe. I'm Jushan. The man in the lead said in a low voice as he looked at everyone present. So it's Your Excellency Jushan. Seeing this, everyone cupped their hands and bowed. In fact, This was the first time they had seen Jushan. However, this person's prestige was not low. He was probably the leader of the 6th layer's giant god clan. Jushan nodded and looked at young Master Heaven Hater. You must be young Master Heaven Hater. I heard my father mention you. You're here on behalf of the ancestor of the Earth Immortals to marry Feng Moyang, right? That's right, it's me. Young Master Heaven Hater stood up and nodded. Although the giant god clan's name shook the universe, his backing was not weak either. He was one of the 8 great gods and the disciple of the ancestor of the Earth Immortals. Therefore, he did not fear the giant god clan. Your courage is not bad. Jushan smiled when he saw that young Master Heaven Hater was neither arrogant nor humble. This was the first time he had smiled since he arrived. Everyone, take a seat. Jushan led his people to sit down. Someone poured a large bowl of wine, and Jushan and the others drank in large mouthfuls, looking very forthright. The giant god clan's way of doing things is just like the legends. If I hadn't followed young Master Heaven Hater here, I probably wouldn't have seen the god clan in my life. Their strength is deep and immeasurable, their bodies condensed like the cosmos, not fearing any divine force. Everyone accompanied Jushan and the others as they drank. But in their hearts, they were secretly grumbling. But after sensing how strong the giant god race was, they felt that this trip hadn't been in vain. Heaven-hating young master, the earthly immortal ancestor has already transmitted a message to us, saying that Feng Er's mother has agreed to this marriage, right? Jushan drank 3 bowls of wine in a row before he said indifferently. At the same time, he glanced at Feng Moyang and sighed inwardly. He knew that this was the intention of the old man behind Feng Moyang, so the giant god clan could not interfere. However, he also knew that Feng Moyang did not want to marry this so-called Heaven Hater. Not bad. Young Master Heaven Hater nodded. If that's the case, then let's see if Feng Lass agrees or not. If she agrees, then she'll go with you. Jushan said as he looked at Feng Moyang. Heaven Hater frowned slightly. The people behind them had already agreed to this matter, so the giant god clan could just obediently hand over the girl. Now, they still had to ask for Feng Moyang's opinion. What if Feng Moyang didn't agree? Brother Jushan, I'm only here on Master's orders, so I have the right to protect Feng Moyang. If that's the case, then let Feng Moyang come back with me. Heaven Hater said indifferently. Haha, when it comes to matters between men and women, not only do we have to look at the parents' words, we also have to look at the other party's opinion, right? Jushan seemed careless, but his thoughts were extremely meticulous. Feng Moyang is a friend of our giant god clan, so we have the right to protect her. If she leaves with someone and something happens to her, our giant god clan will also be responsible. With that, he looked at Feng Moyang and smiled. Feng Lass, what do you think? Feng Moyang had been silent this entire time, but when she saw Jushan speaking up for her, she was secretly grateful. Indeed, and she knew that her mother and the earthly immortal ancestor had both agreed to this matter, so it would be very difficult to refuse. But when her eyes subconsciously swept over the crowd, she suddenly saw a familiar face. It's him. Feng Moyang was shocked. Why was he here? Hope suddenly rose in her heart, because Lin Ling had helped her many times. This time, could it be that Lin Ling had come to save her? But after thinking about it, Feng Moyang felt a little guilty. Ever since Lin Ling had helped her for the first time, she had misunderstood Lin Ling and had never had the chance to explain. On the contrary, later on, Lin Ling had helped her a few more times. She, Feng Moyang, also wanted face. How could she have the nerve to ask Lin Ling for help every time? She secretly shook her head, not daring to look at Lin Ling again. But she suddenly realized that Lin Ling was smiling at her, and then nodding. What did that mean? Feng Moyang's eyes widened. Could it be that Lin Ling had come to help her this time? Thinking of this, Feng Moyang's heart inexplicably became excited, and there was a sweet feeling as if she had eaten honey. Then she raised her head and looked at young Master Heaven Hater. At this moment, young Master Heaven Hater was also looking at her. Young Master Heaven Hater knew that Jushan actually wanted to help Feng Moyang, but that excuse was a little far-fetched. Therefore, young Master Heaven Hater did not put him in his eyes. However, This was also the first time he had seen Feng Moyang, and he discovered that Feng Moyang's temperament was extremely good. Although Feng Moyang's beauty was different from the woman behind him, Feng Moyang had the most primitive kind of beauty. It was as pure as the blue sky, extremely attractive. That lord's descendant is indeed outstanding, much better than ordinary girls. Young Master Heaven Hater secretly muttered. He coughed slightly and elegantly wanted to speak. However, Feng Moyang was even faster than him. Sorry, young Master Heaven Hater, I already have a husband. Feng Moyang stood up and looked at the crowd. Feng Moyang has a husband? Everyone was shocked. They had never heard of such a thing. Everyone could not help but look at young Master Heaven Hater, knowing that he must be very embarrassed at this moment. However, young Master Heaven Hater frowned, his face was somewhat gloomy. He was very confident in his charm. Behind him were countless beauties, but none of these beauties wanted to leave him. They were proud to be able to follow him for life. He believed that as long as it was a woman, she would be attracted to him. That was because his status was very high, and his background was extraordinary. In addition to his outstanding strength and unforgettable appearance, these advantages would make any beautiful woman linger on him. And this time, he personally came to marry Feng Moyang, giving Feng Moyang enough face. But in the end, Feng Moyang rejected him, not to mention that she already has a husband. Miss Feng, you must be joking. But soon, young Master Heaven Hater also laughed, thinking that Feng Moyang is probably looking for an excuse. I am not joking. In fact, when I was in the Chaos Realm, I was already married. Everyone in my sect can testify. Feng Moyang shook her head, looked at Lin Ling and said, and today, my husband is also here, it is him. When she pointed, everyone looked at Lin Ling, the shock in their hearts became even stronger. Young Master Heaven Hater also stared at Lin Ling, his expression constantly changed. Why is it him again? Chapter 53:16. It was the perfect supreme being. Hee, Feng Moyang really likes to joke. After being angry, Heaven Hater young master suddenly calms down. He feels that this is an excuse that Feng Moyang is deliberately finding. After all, this young man is not from the primal chaos realm. How can he know Feng Moyang? Taking a step back, Feng Moyang's background is not small. She is extremely famous in the primal chaos realm. How can this young man have the qualifications to marry Feng Moyang? Even if Feng Moyang agrees, those almighty beings in the primal chaos realm will not agree. That's true. Just based on that kid? The beauties behind Heaven Hater young master also have a look of disdain. It is not that they are looking down on Lin Ling, but Lin Ling's background is even more amazing. At best, he is only a little famous in the 6th level. And their Heaven Hater young master is the descendant of the 8 god generations. Just based on this identity, that overestimating youth cannot be compared to him. Who says she is joking? At this moment, Lin Ling spoke as well. He naturally couldn't allow Feng Moyang to bear all of this by herself. Not to mention that he'd come here for Feng Moyang. She is indeed my wife. After Lin Ling finished speaking, he walks towards Feng Moyang and then under everyone's gaze, he holds her hand. Feng Moyang's body trembles and tightens like a zither string. She clearly did not expect that Lin Ling would actually take the initiative to hold her hand. One must know that in the primal chaos realm, she had misunderstood Lin Ling. Shouldn't Lin Ling hate her? Moyang, don't you think so? Lin Ling gently looks at Feng Moyang as if he is looking at Yu, his wife. Feng Moyang's mood is complicated. But what is strange is that she does not dislike Lin Ling's way of addressing her. Instead, she feels a long-lost and warm feeling. One must know that when they were in the primal chaos realm, they faked their marriage and lived in a small courtyard every day. Let alone holding hands, they did not even talk much. Perhaps it is because Lin Ling has helped her too much, or perhaps she feels that she owes Lin Ling. Now, Feng Moyang can only console herself like this. Sir Lin Ling. Looking at Feng Moyang's generous admission, Zhang Jian secretly admired him. As expected of His Excellency Lin Ling. He had also heard of Feng Moyang's origins. It was said that she was the daughter of one of the ancient rulers of the 8 great god generations. Because of this, Many people in the primal chaos realm wanted to become the son-in-law of that ruler. Moreover, there were even rumors that Feng Moyang's body contained the most ancient energy of the human race that could mend the heavens. Anyone who could mate with her would definitely become a ruler. This was also the reason why young Master Heaven Hater pursued Feng Moyang. However, Zhang Jian did not expect that the goddess that countless men in the Chaos Realm dreamed of was actually obtained by Lin Ling. You! Young Master Heaven Hater's eyes were red as he stared at Lin Ling's hand. This guy was actually holding Feng Moyang's hand. Damn it! He really couldn't understand why the extremely famous Feng Moyang from the Primal Chaos Realm would walk together with this man. Moreover, was this man worthy? Young Master Heaven Hater almost cursed out loud. Get your filthy hands off me. However, he had scruples about his status and demeanor, so he endured it. Feng Moyang, the two of you are playing too seriously. Even if they were holding hands, young Master Heaven Hater did not think that Lin Ling and Feng Moyang would have any relationship. In any case, he only knew that this man was dead for sure. Truly shameless. Young Master rarely takes the initiative to pursue others. This is the first time he pursued her, and this Feng Moyang actually rejected him. Moreover, she didn't choose a good-looking boy. It should be Feng Moyang who is thinking of a way to reject young Master Heaven Hater. It's just that the person she found is not that good. The beautiful woman behind young Master Heaven Hater looked at Feng Moyang in anger. She felt that Feng Moyang was not giving young Master Heaven Hater any face. We are not playing. We have gone through the wedding ceremony. Many people in the Primal Chaos Realm can testify to this. Feng Moyang said solemnly. Her eyes looked behind her and landed on the several senior and junior sisters. Yes, we can testify to this. Those senior and junior sisters were also in the sect and witnessed this matter with their own eyes. If you still don't believe me, you can ask my master and everyone in the sect. Feng Moyang continued. The more young Master Heaven Hater listened, the more he frowned. Could it be that Feng Moyang is really married? His teeth quietly grinded as if there is a flame burning between his teeth. He is extremely unwilling. Haha, it seems that I have misunderstood this matter. Because when my master talked to your mother did not say that you are married. Young Master Heaven Hater suddenly laughed, trying to alleviate the embarrassment and shame. He looked at Lin Ling with a faint smile and said, This sire, do you know who Feng Moyang is in the Primal Chaos Realm? I don't know. Lin Ling shook his head. He only knows that Feng Moyang is a disciple of a sect. I knew it. Young Master Heaven Hater's expression is still very calm, but he is furious in his heart. However, this Lin Ling does not know Feng Moyang's origin. This also means that this Lin Ling's origin is very ordinary. She is one of the 8 great god generations, the daughter of Goddess Nuwa. Goddess Nuwa is the ancient ruler who created the laws of the universe at the beginning of the universe. In the entire Primal Chaos Realm, she is the ancestor of all gods. Feng Moyang is her daughter. Her origin, her identity, she is destined to be extraordinary. Tell me, can an ordinary person marry her? Young Master Heaven Hater continued as he stared at Lin Ling. Since Feng Moyang is already married, he will make this man feel inferior and scram. Young Master Heaven Hater, what do you mean by this? Feng Moyang suddenly guessed young Master Heaven Hater's intention. He wants to force Lin Ling to not have the face to be together with her. This angered her. She had finally made Lin Ling forgive her with great difficulty, but this young Master Heaven Hater actually wants to destroy their relationship. Nothing. He's your husband after all. He can't possibly be unaware of your background. Young Master Heaven Hater smiled faintly. You're right. An ordinary person can't marry her. Lin Ling nodded. This made young Master Heaven Hater laugh. This man is not stupid. He can distinguish the situation. Young Master Heaven Hater wanted to speak, but Lin Ling had already said, when two people are together, identity, origin, and strength are not important. After saying this, Lin Ling looked at Feng Moyang again. Husband and wife are birds of the same forest. When disaster comes, they fly separately. This sentence is said by the ancestors. However, we have experienced so many storms in our lives. We have faced so many life and death situations, so many disasters, but we have never flown separately. So, why would we care about the opinions of ordinary people? I once promised you that I would use your hand to roam the universe. This promise I still remember. Lin Ling's thoughts seemed to have returned to millions of years ago, to that tiny Gu Yen sect. Under the illumination of the sun, the young man and the young girl's bridge hand moved forward bit by bit under the sunlight. Young Master Heaven Hater wanted to make Lin Ling feel inferior. However, he didn't know that Lin Ling and Yu had known each other for so many years and how strong their relationship was. Lin Ling. Looking at the affectionate Lin Ling, Feng Moyang was also moved. She realized that Lin Ling wasn't joking. These were words from the bottom of his heart. Most importantly, she seemed to have heard these words before. Chapter 53:17. Lin Ling, no matter what kind of person you are, since we are husband and wife, then no matter how big the storm is, we will go through it together. Feng Moyang looked at Lin Ling affectionately. After hearing Lin Ling's words, Feng Moyang had a very strange feeling, as if she and Lin Ling had known each other for thousands of years. They were a true husband and wife. Yes, no matter how big the storm is, we will go through it together. Lin Ling nodded at Feng Moyang. In his heart, Feng Moyang was Yu. Back then, the hatred of the Silver Moon clan caused Yu to die. After reincarnating, her whereabouts were unknown. However, didn't Lin Ling find her in the end? Therefore, no matter what kind of storm there was, they would definitely be able to persevere. Haha. Suddenly, Heaven Hater Young Master laughed loudly. He could no longer maintain his calm expression as he looked at Lin Ling with disdain. What a nice way to put it, but unfortunately, it is only your wishful thinking. With Feng Moyang's background, she is destined to be extraordinary. Even if you two are together today, tomorrow, someone will break you two apart. At that time, when you see your wife being taken away and you are powerless to resist, what will you think? I will remind you one last time. Ordinary people do not have the qualifications to touch Feng Moyang. I hope you can think clearly. At the end, Heaven Hater Young Master did not hide his disdain for Lin Ling as he suppressed Lin Ling from above. His expression was filled with endless confidence and pride. Let me tell you, I am Heaven Hater Young Master, the chief disciple of the Earth Immortal Ancestor. I am also a member of the 8 God generations. Not to mention the entire primal chaos realm, even in the Tao Tower, I have supreme authority. Heaven Hater Young Master spoke with his hands behind his back as he walked. Now, I have reached the 6th floor of the Tao Tower, but which of the big shots in the Tao Tower dare not to give me face? The 3 clubs and 9 temples are the rogue cultivator camp on the 6th floor of the Tao Tower. However, they have a lot of people and their overall strength is not weaker than any of the god race. As for me, I met their 6 leaders not long after I came to the Tao Tower. Mountain Push Party, Sun God Clan, Ceiling Cave God Clan, Ia Clan, I've seen the leaders of these god clans. It was also the 2nd day I came to this floor. When they learned of my arrival, they all came to give me face. In the 6th level, there's basically no one who doesn't give me face. I even have a chance to meet the overlord of the 6th level. The origins of the 8 great deities, the identity of the disciple of the Earth Immortal Ancestor, and the authority that all the overlords of the 6th level would give him face with just a single move. This is not an ordinary person. Compared to me, who do you think is more qualified to obtain Feng Moyang? Young Master Heaven Hater's voice was loud and clear as he scanned the crowd. Wherever he passed by, the faces of the crowd would change slightly. This young Master Heaven Hater hadn't been in this level for long, but he had already made so many magnates give him face. Even the rumored overlord of this level would meet him. If it was like this, then young Master Heaven Hater could simply run amok on the 6th floor of the Tao Pagoda. After that, many people looked at Lin Ling. Did this young man have the qualifications to compete with young Master Heaven Hater? Feng Moyang, my young master rarely takes the initiative to ask for help. You are the 2nd person after the Earth Immortal Ancestor, but you didn't choose young Master Heaven Hater and instead chose an ordinary person. I really don't know what you're thinking. The beauties behind young Master Heaven Hater also spoke one after another. They felt that Feng Moyang simply didn't know how lucky he was. So what if he's an ordinary person? I just want to be with him. Hearing this, Feng Moyang frowned and said, no matter how powerful young Master Heaven Hater is, no matter how much status, future, and strength, what does it have to do with me? You. Young Master Heaven Hater said so much. He thought that Feng Moyang would be moved, but he didn't expect that Feng Moyang didn't put it in his eyes at all. This Feng Moyang was so stupid. He didn't know how much help young Master Heaven Hater had to Feng Moyang's future. Sigh, young, you don't think things through. Some of the people present also said regretfully. Young Master Heaven Hater knew that he couldn't change Feng Moyang's mind and could only look at Lin Ling. This guy's skin was really thick. He obviously couldn't give Feng Moyang happiness, but he still pestered her. Sir, what do you think? Young Master Heaven Hater sneered at Lin Ling. Interesting. The people of the giant god race were drinking and watching. Their leader, Zhu Shan, said with interest. I didn't see much. The things you said are just very ordinary things. Lin Ling said indifferently, what's more, I am not an ordinary person. Ha! Everyone laughed. Young Master Heaven Hater's things were actually very ordinary? To think that this young man dared to say it. Young Master Heaven Hater kept shaking his head, feeling that Lin Ling had simply not seen the world. The beauty behind young Master Heaven Hater couldn't help but laugh and say, young Master Heaven Hater's identity is the descendant of the 8 great gods, the disciple of the ancestor of the earth immortals. Just based on this, no one in the entire 6th floor is nobler than him. In the Dao Tower, all the big shots in the Dao Tower gave him face. Who could do this? Sir, you said that you are not an ordinary person. May I ask how long have you been in the Dao Tower? How many people know you? How many people give you face? It was not that they looked down on Lin Ling, but that no matter how great Lin Ling's background was, his strongest was only the top 100 of the 6th floor. Compared to young Master Heaven Hater's identity, the difference was like heaven and earth. I have also been in the Dao Tower for a long time, but speaking of people who know me, Lin Ling replied indifferently. He suddenly thought of when he left the 18 Dragon Mountains not long ago. At that time, many people came and wanted to join his force, but they didn't know him. There are not many people who know me. Lin Ling said truthfully, as for how many people give me face, I guess that in the entire 6th floor of the Dao Tower, no one dares to not give me face. The first sentence made everyone nod and feel that it was natural. After all, they didn't know Lin Ling, so he was definitely not a famous person. But the second sentence made everyone want to laugh. This tone was really big. No one dares to not give him face? Only he could think of this. Ha, interesting. Even Jushan, who was on Lin Ling's side in his heart, couldn't help but laugh. Because he also felt that Lin Ling's tone was too big. Not to mention others, his giant god clan didn't know Lin Ling. A large amount of mocking laughter came, causing Feng Moyang to secretly stomp her feet. She didn't know why, but she just didn't like everyone laughing at Lin Ling. Lin Ling helplessly shook his head. He didn't care. Lin Ling, don't worry about them. In any case, I will follow you. Feng Moyang was afraid that Lin Ling would be bullied, so she quickly said to Lin Ling, follow me. Lin Ling also smiled and explained, I really didn't take their words to heart. Good. Don't worry, although you are ordinary, your temperament is good. Moreover, if you like someone, how can you look at their background? Feng Moyang's small face turned red and said in a low voice. Seeing this, Lin Ling's heart was filled with joy. It was as if he was looking at Yu. He nodded and said, although I don't care about their opinions, I am not ordinary either. Feng Moyang suddenly froze. She didn't understand why Lin Ling said this. But at this moment, someone arrived at the teleportation array in the palace. Congratulations, my mountain push gang is late. Chapter 53:18. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, The Mountain Push Faction. Everyone's eyes flashed. They knew that this was one of the divine races on the 6th level. Although he was not the strongest overlord on the 6th level, he was still in existence that could not be underestimated. One had to know that the forces that could survive on the 6th level were all very strong, and the Mountain Push Gang was one of them. Then, many people subconsciously looked at young Master Heaven Hater. Previously, he had said that he had been on the 6th level for 2 days, and the various divine races had already given him face. Could it be that the Mountain Push faction was here for him? Young Master Heaven Hater's lips curled into a proud smile. How could the Mountain Push faction have the time to care about the giant god clan? Today's sudden visit must have been for him. He could not help but look at Lin Ling. This kid had been stubborn before, but now he would show him his power on the 6th level. He would also show him how many people he knew on the 6th level. All he had to do was say something, and that kid would not be able to survive on the 6th level. He said he's Feng Moyang's husband, but today, is there any place for him to stand? The beauties behind young Master Heaven Hater sneered. The Mountain Push faction and the others strode over. As the host, Jushan's eyes lit up, and he stood up to greet them. However, the Mountain Push faction and the other experts ignored him and continued forward. This also infuriated Jushan. This palace was the giant god clan's territory, and as a guest, they did not greet them first? Jushan glanced at young Master Heaven Hater and was secretly annoyed. This kid from the Chaos Realm had such great face that the Mountain Push faction would ignore the giant god clan? But in fact, even young Master Heaven Hater was extremely surprised. But the fact that the Mountain Push gang had given him face made him feel elated. Senior Since young Master Heaven Hater had taken the initiative to greet them, he naturally had to do the same. However, the Mountain Push faction and the other experts ignored him and continued forward. Young Master Heaven Hater had taken the initiative to greet them, only to be rejected. He looked as awkward as he could be. Everyone was also stunned. The group of experts from the Mountain Push faction continued forward and came before the youth. Then they bowed slightly. Congratulations. Our Mountain Push faction is late. This was what the Mountain Push faction had said when they first arrived. At that time, everyone thought that they were talking to the giant god clan, or even to young Master Heaven Hater. However, only now did they realize that those words were actually directed at that young man. Translation: Young Master Heaven Hater, the Mountain Push faction, and the Mountain Push translation. Was the Mountain Push faction and the other experts. The Mountain Push faction. Instead, the Mountain Push faction was translation. At that moment, many people were translation because people? But translation, God translation 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 is translation 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 is translation 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 phone cloud translation translation phone was Feng's phone. Be the faction young was master it young's it was haters. These people must be imposters. Young Master Heaven Hater gritted his teeth in anger, but he could not explain the reason before him. Hi, you're all here? But at that moment, another hearty voice sounded. It was the Solar God clan. Moreover, there were many people accompanying the Solar God clan. Upon closer inspection, they were the Ceiling Cave clan, the Ya clan, and other god clans. It could be said that all the god clans on the 6th level had come. The scene was extremely spectacular. Everyone gasped. Although they were also very famous, they were only famous in terms of reputation. In terms of background and authority, they could not compare to these god clans. Why are they all here? Young Master Heaven Hater's shock came wave after wave. He could not understand why this was happening. Most importantly, he had a huge question in his heart. Were these people here for him? He felt that it was impossible. Although he knew many big shots on the 6th level, he did not know all the god clans. The 3 meetings and 9 temples. But at that moment, more than a dozen experts arrived. They were the 12 leaders of the 3 meetings and 9 temples. They also represented the entire 6th level's independent god clans. In fact, even young Master Heaven Hater, Zhang Jian, and the others were considered independent god clans and belonged to the 3 meetings and 9 temples. "They're here." Young Master Heaven Hater stared at the dozen people. He knew 6 of them. When he had just arrived on the 6th level, those 6 people had become friends with him. Today, the 3 meetings and 9 temples must have come for him. "Young Master." The beauties behind Young Master Heaven Hater also laughed happily. Young Master Heaven Hater had been neglected before, but now he could finally turn the tables. That day, when the 3 meetings and 9 temples came to visit, they were also present. They knew how polite these leaders were to Young Master Heaven Hater. Most importantly, these leaders were also invited by Young Master Heaven Hater to help with today's matter. "Hee, everyone, you're really late." Young Master Heaven Hater smiled faintly and took the initiative to walk forward. This was also to sweep away the previous neglect and reverse the situation. He had turned the tables. Young Master Heaven Hater believed that a mere mountain push gang could not compare to him at all. Many people also saw Young Master Heaven Hater's appearance and immediately looked forward to it. However, when Young Master Heaven Hater took the initiative to greet them, the leaders of the 3 meetings and 9 temples acted as if they did not hear him. They walked forward with smiling faces. Most importantly, their eyes were fixed on one person. It was as if everyone in the palace was transparent, and only that person was the most dazzling. "It's him again?" When people realized that Young Master Heaven Hater was staring at the person, they all felt like they were dreaming, because it was that young man again. Relata. At this time, the solar god race had already arrived in front of Lin Ling. They cupped their hands and bowed to Lin Ling. Not late, not late. Just in time. Lin Ling smiled and waved his hand. Looking at the way the 2 sides conversed, it was obvious that they were very familiar with each other. This completely proved that the solar god race had indeed come for Lin Ling. All the major god races on the 6th level are giving face to that young man. Everyone's hearts trembled. Their faces were filled with suspicion, shock, and astonishment. Young Master Heaven Hater's heart felt like it had exploded into 7 or 8 pieces. Endless waves crashed into him one after another, making him feel like he was dreaming. Could it be that the 3 meetings and 9 temples are also here for him? At this time, someone said with uncertainty, "That shouldn't be the case." Someone shook their head, feeling that everything was too coincidental. Moreover, who on the 6th level had such charisma? The sun shouldn't have risen from the west. But the truth was that the sun had indeed risen from the west. The 12 leaders of the 3 meetings and 9 temples walked toward Lin Ling. Then they all bowed in unison. "Congratulations, congratulations." With this congratulation, the entire audience fell silent. Even the experts of the giant god clan were completely silent. The major god races, the 3 meetings and 9 temples. Forget about the major god races, even the 3 meetings and 9 temples had come for that young man. This was too terrifying. Many people suddenly looked at Young Master Heaven Hater. He had said that he knew the 3 meetings and 9 temples, and they had given him enough face. But in the end, they didn't even look at him. Moreover, he had also said that he was not an ordinary person, and that the young man was an ordinary person. He didn't have the right to obtain Feng Moyang. But now, who was the ordinary person? Young Master Heaven Hater's words were equivalent to slapping his own face. Wasn't that the same as personally giving away his fiancée? Chapter 53:19. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The entire hall was silent, and the only ones talking were the big shots of the 6th floor of the Sun God race. Seeing these heavyweights talking politely with Lin Ling, everyone was filled with curiosity about Lin Ling's identity. Feng Moyang was beside Lin Ling, and she was also curious about Lin Ling's identity. However, back in the primal chaos realm, Lin Ling's origin was indeed very ordinary. Could it be that during his days in the Dao Pagoda, Lin Ling rose step by step and stood firm, and then got to know these heavyweights? But no matter what, the greater Lin Ling's identity was, the more Young Master Heaven Hater couldn't take her away. Young Master Heaven Hater's face was ashen, and he couldn't say a word. He didn't know why these people ignored him and gave face to that young man. He really couldn't figure it out. After all, in terms of background, he was the disciple of an Earth immortal ancestor, and in terms of experience, he was one of the 9 stars of the universe. How could that young man compare to him? Young master, those people are blind, they don't know young master's true identity. The beauties behind young master Heaven Hater also felt injustice for him. Young master Heaven Hater continued to take deep breaths. Suddenly he laughed and said, "Sire, you have quite the face. You only know some of the seniors on the 6th floor, but that doesn't mean anything. Unless you can gain the approval of all the seniors on the 6th floor. Furthermore, your background is truly worthy of Feng Moyong." Still the same words, Feng Moyong's origin is extraordinary, and she can be called the goddess of the universe. Your status in this tiny place really can't change anything, and the seniors of the primal chaos realm also won't put this advantage in their eyes. Young Master Heaven Hater knew that in terms of connections and face, he really couldn't compare to that young man. However, he still had other advantages, so why should he compare his shortcomings with others' strengths? Young Master Heaven Hater, are you done yet? Seeing young Master Heaven Hater chattering on, Feng Moyong couldn't bear it anymore. Feng Moyong, I'm doing this for your own good. If you insist on being with him, your mother will definitely kill him, and he has no backing in the primal chaos realm. At that time, who will save him? Heaven-hating young master was no longer polite to Feng Moyong. Therefore, if you really care about him, you should leave him. Hearing this, Feng Moyong's body trembled and her heart sank. Although she hated young Master Hentian, she couldn't deny that young Master Hentian was right. With her mother's pride, how could she allow her daughter to marry an ordinary god? Perhaps, behind her back, her mother would really kill Lin Ling. "It's you." Suddenly, an exclaim of surprise resounded, and then a robust old man with a trembling spirit walked out from the depths of the palace. "Father!" When he saw the old man, Zhu Shan of the giant god race was the first to stand up, extremely respectful. "Leader!" The gods of the giant god clan bowed slightly. And when they saw this old man, even the leaders of the solar god race paled. If their guess was correct, this senior should be the true leader of the giant god race on the 6th level. His status was even higher than Zhu Shan's. Moreover, there were rumors that the strongest god on the 6th level was actually this behind-the-scenes leader of the giant god race. It was just that this behind-the-scenes leader rarely cared about matters, so the members of the various god races had never seen him before. Senior Zhu Chuan. Heaven-hating young master had heard of this old man's background and couldn't help but bow slightly. "So it's young Master Hentian. Good. The old man smiled and nodded, but he didn't walk toward Heaven Hentian. Instead, he walked toward Lin Ling, revealing an even more polite smile than he had toward Heaven Hentian. "Ha, I've heard of you last time. I didn't expect to meet you today. Young friend, you're even younger than I imagined. Lin Ling, you know Uncle Zhu Chuan?" Feng Moyong was shocked once more. It was one thing for Lin Ling to know the leaders of the various god races, but he even knew leader Zhu Chuan. She knew that this senior was extremely elusive. Not many people had seen him before. "Well, I don't think I know him either." Lin Ling shook his head and looked at the old man. "Senior, are you doubting the wrong person?" "Haha." The old man laughed and shook his head. How could this old man be mistaken? "Do you still remember the summit of the 18 Dragon Mountains?" "It's you." Lin Ling remembered. Back then, when he had climbed to the summit of the 18 Dragon Mountains, a mysterious person had spoken to him. If he remembered correctly, that person had called himself Zhu Chuan, and Lin Ling had also said his name. He never would have imagined that the mysterious person at the summit of the 18 Dragon Mountains was actually this old man. On the 6th floor, besides this old man, you are the second person to reach the summit. We've hit it off so well. The old man still smiled politely. He didn't treat Lin Ling as a junior, but as an equal. This was because he knew how difficult it was to reach the summit of the 18 Dragon Mountains. "Senior, you flatter me. I was just curious at the time." Lin Ling immediately said modestly. Watching Senior Zhu Chuan and Lin Ling talk so politely, heaven-hating young master and the others were completely dumbfounded. If even the leader behind the scenes of the giant god race recognized this youth and was so polite to him, Then who on the 6th floor wouldn't recognize this youth? If I remember correctly, the name you gave back then was Lin Ling, right? Huh, the overlord of the 6th floor. Now that I've met you today, I can see that you live up to the title of overlord. Zhu Chuan said to Lin Ling. He seemed to be ignoring the 6th floor's matters, but in truth, he knew exactly what was going on. Father, overlord this is? Zhu Shan couldn't help but frown, his face full of curiosity. Fool, do you still remember what happened at Dragon's Tomb not long ago? You once said that a god had gathered a group of gods and repelled the alliance of the Silver Moon race. At that time, you were full of admiration. And that person is right in front of you. He is also the strongest leader of the 6th floor, the one who unified the various god races, Lin Ling. Zhu Chuan smiled. Hearing this, Zhu Shan was stunned, staring at Lin Ling in shock. How could he not know of this legendary overlord? He was even filled with worship for this person. He never imagined that this mysterious overlord would actually be this youth. Lin Ling, he's Lin Ling. The faces of the highly respected gods around young Master Heaven Hater changed, even holding their breaths. If one were to talk about Lin Ling's appearance, they really wouldn't recognize him. But if one were to talk about Lin Ling's name, how could they not know? They looked at Lin Ling in fear, finally understanding why the leaders of the god races were giving him face. It turned out that this was the leader of the leaders, the overlord of a region. Who's Lin Ling? Young Master Heaven Hater still hadn't reacted. After all, the time he had spent on the 6th floor was simply too short. Young Master Heaven Hater, didn't you say that you've only been on the 6th floor for 2 days and the various leaders are giving you face? There's even a leader who wants to introduce you to the true overlord, and that overlord is him. Some people couldn't help but remind young Master Heaven Hater when they saw how pitiful he was. It's him. Young Master Heaven Hater felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Previously, he was proud of being able to meet the overlord of the 6th floor, but even if he was beaten to death, he would never have thought that the overlord he was so proud of was actually right in front of him, and it was the young man he looked down on. He had just said that this young man only knew the leaders and wasn't worth mentioning. He had the ability to gain the recognition of all the experts on the 6th floor. In fact, with the identity of the overlord, who on the 6th floor dared to not give him face. Chapter 53:20. At this moment, whether it was young Master Heaven Hater, the beauties behind him, or even the respected seniors from the primal chaos realm, they were all speechless. From the start, they had looked down on Lin Ling and felt that Lin Ling was not worthy of Feng Moyang. But now, they knew that this youth was the overlord of the 6th floor. Not to mention them, even the leader of the giant god race, Zhu Chuan, would have to give face to this youth. It could be said that in the entire 6th floor, the youth was the king. With such a status, young Master Heaven Hater could not compare. Right? You're called young Master Heaven Hater, right? Is your master an earth immortal? At this time, a woman suddenly walked over to young Master Heaven Hater and smiled at him. Yes, you are. Young Master Heaven Hater felt that this woman was somewhat extraordinary and even somewhat familiar, but he could not remember where he had seen her before. Patriarch Subhudi's disciple, Xianxia. The woman smiled and introduced herself. One of the 8 deities, Patriarch Subhudi of Bodhi Immortal Cave. Young Master Heaven Hater's expression changed, and his eyes became more serious. He knew that this woman's background was not small. After all, the 8 deities had many deities, but to be able to become the Patriarch's disciple was no small matter. She was above the deities of the primal chaos realm. It's an honor to meet you. Young Master Heaven Hater had always been proud. Even though Lin Ling was the overlord of the 6th floor, he did not say anything on the surface, but he was still unconvinced in his heart. He firmly believed that it would not be long before he could surpass this youth. However, he did not dare to be too presumptuous toward the descendants of the 8 deities, because the other party's status was not much weaker than his. Thank you. Xianxia was very polite. After pondering for a moment, she said indifferently, "He's my junior brother." After saying this, she walked over to the Yellow Emperor. It's him. Young Master Heaven Hater did not react at first, but a few seconds later, his body trembled because that him was Lin Ling. He suddenly stared at Lin Ling and found that Lin Ling was talking and laughing with the crowd, but no matter how he looked at it, this youth did not look like a descendant of one of the 8 deities. "Young master, it's him. Young master." The expressions on the beauties' faces were also very complicated. There was shock, confusion, jealousy, and unwillingness. Now, their beloved young master Hentian really didn't have the capital to be proud in front of that young man. They couldn't help but think about the scene in the forest not long ago. At that time, they were riding the palace and flying high up in the sky while the young men on the ground were like ants that could only look up at them. But now that he thought about it, everything was so ironic. Because they didn't have the right. Patriarch Subhudi's disciple. Young Master Heaven Hater was still thinking about those words. He didn't believe them in his heart, but his subconscious told him that Blue Bamboo's words were most likely true. "Feng Moyang, come with me, okay?" Lin Ling looked at Feng Moyang and said after talking to everyone. Feng Moyang's mood is extremely complicated. The main thing is that everything that happened today is too shocking. One had to know that she had come to the Dao Tower from the Primal Chaos realm for Lin Ling. However, although they had met several times, they had never been together. But now, Lin Ling had taken the initiative to invite her along. Perhaps the surprise came too suddenly, making her feel like she was dreaming. "Is it inconvenient? How about this? I can wait for you to be convenient." Lin Ling saw that Feng Moyang was silent and immediately respected her. Because in his heart, Feng Moyang is Yu. In the past, no matter what he did, he would respect Yu's opinion. I'm willing. Don't leave me behind." Seeing that Lin Ling seems to want to leave alone, Feng Moyang hurriedly shouted, her expression full of anxiety. This also caused Lin Ling to be stunned. "Haha, it seems that Feng girl has found the man she likes. Zhu Chuan is a shrewd person and saw something." Feng Moyang is very famous in the Primal Chaos realm, causing many descendants of rulers to want to pursue Feng Moyang. However, this kind of marriage has a purpose and Feng Moyang has no right to pursue her own happiness. Now, seeing that Feng Moyang has met the person she likes and that person has the strength to take Feng Moyang away, he is naturally happy for Feng Moyang. "Grandpa Zhu Chuan, I hate you, you're laughing at me." After Feng Moyang reacted, she immediately shyly said, "Ha, don't worry, I feel that Lin Ling can be trusted." Zhu Chuan laughed loudly and said, "Those who can reach the peak of the 18 Dragon Mountains all have great perseverance and are people of principle. Whether it is temperament or potential, they will definitely not be below others in the future. Feng Moyang, you are lucky." "Grandpa Zhu Chuan, I'm not bad either." Feng Moyang immediately said unconvinced. Yes, Feng girl is not bad either." Zhu Chuan benevolently smiled and looked at Lin Ling. "Lin Ling, it's rare for you to come here. Why don't you stay for a meal?" "Okay." Lin Ling nodded. Zhu Chuan was immediately very happy. As he ordered people to prepare the feast, he looked at Heaven Hater and the others. "Senior Zhu Chuan, your master has invited me back, so I won't stay. Today, I thank your giant god race for your hospitality." Heaven Hater didn't want to leave, but he didn't have the face to stay here, so he cupped his hands and bid farewell. Please forgive me for my lack of hospitality." Zhu Chuan said politely. Heaven Hater nodded with a smile and left with the beauties. He wasn't stupid. Zhu Chuan was just being polite to him and had no intention of keeping him. However, before he left, he glared fiercely at Lin Ling. He obviously wouldn't let this matter go.
Yes.
Today, this was the giant god race's territory. He endured it. When they met again in the future, he would use his own strength to ruthlessly defeat Lin Ling and reclaim his lost dignity. "Senior Zhu Chuan, we also have important matters to attend to, so we'll take our leave. Farewell." The others naturally felt embarrassed to stay and left one after another. Zhang Jian looked at Lin Ling and smiled. He didn't say anything and left with the others. They had come for Heaven Hater, but in the end, Heaven Hater had left in disgrace. Naturally, there was no point in them staying. They had even prepared a congratulatory gift for Heaven Hater, but unfortunately, they couldn't give it away. Zhang Jian followed the others and left through the teleportation array. When he saw Heaven Hater in front of him, he pondered for a moment and chased after him. He smiled and said, "Heaven Hater, do you want to know why I respect him so much?" "Nonsense. If you have something to say, then say it." "Nonsense." Heaven Hater was in an extremely bad mood. Moreover, Zhang Jian had helped Lin Ling before, which made him hold a grudge. "It's very simple. He once defeated me." "Nonsense." Zhang Jian shrugged indifferently. After pondering for a moment, he said, "By the way, he's the host of the world's will. He's ranked 3rd, second only to Dipankara Buddha of the 3 divine gates of White Mountain." "Nonsense." "What?" "Nonsense." Heaven Hater stopped in his tracks. His heart seemed to have shattered into thousands of pieces. This Lin Ling was actually the host of the world's will, and he was ranked 3rd among the hosts of the world's will? Previously, he still had hope in his heart because of his identity as one of the 9 stars of the universe. But now, that hope was once again shattered. "Lin Ling, oh Lin Ling." He suddenly gritted his teeth. With endless grievance, he entered the teleportation array and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 53:21. Lin Ling come. In the hall, Zhu Chuan and the others raised their wine cups slightly toward Lin Ling. The wine cups in their hands were like huge bowls. The wine inside was not clear and was slightly yellow, but the alcohol content was very high. It was said that it was brewed from rare divine stones. This wine was also called yellow stone wine. Only the true guests of the giant god clan were qualified to drink it. "Thank you for your hospitality, Senior Zhu Chuan." Lin Ling also raised his bowl. The Yellow Emperor and the others did the same. They stared at the wine in their hands with curiosity. They had all heard of yellow stone wine. It was said that it was absolutely helpful for cultivation, especially for gods who cultivated their physical bodies. This help was even more obvious. They did not expect the legendary yellow stone wine to be like this. Next, everyone laughed loudly and drank a mouthful of yellow stone wine. When this mouthful entered their throats, everyone's expression changed drastically. They did not expect the alcohol content of this wine to be so high. Moreover, they were gods. Any wine could be dispelled with divine energy. But this wine, they could not dispel it. Cough, cough. Immediately, many people coughed violently. This wine really can't be drunk in a hurry, especially for people who drink it for the first time. It's easy to get drunk. Zhu Chuan laughed loudly and drank the wine in his hand in one gulp. There was no lack of drunkards present. They had lived for hundreds of millions of years. What kind of wine had they not drunk? If it was a competition of strength, they admitted that they were no match for Zhu Chuan. But when it came to drinking, they were not afraid of anyone. "Senior Zhu Chuan, this yellow stone wine is said to be very famous. Even gods will get drunk. But when it comes to wine, we are not afraid. How about this? Let's see who collapses first." A white-haired old man with a red nose said with a smile. This old man had a wine gourd hanging from his body. One look and one could tell that he was a wine lover. Good. Zhu Chuan nodded generously. He was also a wine lover. Seeing that someone wanted to compete in drinking, he naturally would not be outdone. Who else wants to join? Let's do it together. Zhu Chuan looked at the crowd and said, "This yellow stone wine is brewed every 10 years. Today, I will risk my life to accompany you. Since Senior Zhu Chuan is so generous, we can't back off. Risking our lives to accompany you, I will also participate." A few more people shouted. The yellow stone wine was very rare. It could be used to stabilize one's cultivation. Now that Zhu Chuan had brought out as much as he could, how could they not dare to drink it? These guys are crazy. Zhu Shan couldn't help but murmur to himself. He knew how strong the yellow stone wine was. Even he couldn't drink 3 cups in a row. He would really get drunk. Back in the day, there had been a god who had come because of the giant god clan's reputation, wanting to taste the giant god clan's yellow stone wine. They had even offered treasures in exchange for it. Zhu Shan's father had also agreed and allowed that god to drink as much as he wanted. In the end, that god had only drunk 2 cups, and had been drunk for a full 1,800 years. 1,800 years later, when the god woke up, he thought that he had only slept for a short while. When Zhu Chuan reminded him, he was stunned for 3 days and 3 nights. Later on, that god would talk about the yellow stone wine to everyone he met, saying that this wine was the god of wine. This caused all the gods to be filled with curiosity about the yellow stone wine of the giant gods. And now, these drunkards actually wanted to drink until they were drunk. Who knew how many years they would be drunk for? Lin Ling, do you want to join us? At this time, Zhu Chuan suddenly looked at Lin Ling. He was in a great mood today, so he wanted to have a drinking competition. As Lin Ling tasted the yellow stone wine, he gradually discovered the effects of this wine, as well as why it could even intoxicate a god. It turned out that once this wine entered the stomach, it could increase one's physical strength and make one's physical strength more condensed. On the other hand, if one's physical strength wasn't strong enough, then it was especially easy to get drunk. Even if a god's universe was very strong, the yellow stone wine's power could even make a universe drunk. Lin Ling, don't compete with them in drinking. I've heard my master talk about the giant god clan's yellow stone wine. This wine is very famous, and it is said that it was created by the first god of the universe, Pangu. It was brewed from the stones of the universe and the water of the sun and moon. Feng Moyang whispered from the side. She was really afraid that Lin Ling would be fooled and then compete with the giant god clan in drinking. The giant god clan was originally Pangu's descendant, and they had always been good at drinking. How could they win against them? "Ha, little Feng, you haven't even married yet, but you're already siding with your husband's family?" Although Feng Moyang spoke softly, everyone present was agog. How could they not hear her? Zhu Chuan couldn't help but laugh. "Hateful, you only know how to laugh at me." Feng Moyang's pretty face also turned red. Lin Ling immediately smiled and shook his head, explaining, "The culture of drinking is also a man's culture. Since Big Brother Zhu Chuan has invited me, if I don't drink, then I'm not giving him face." With that, he looked at Zhu Chuan and said, "I, Lin Ling, naturally have to participate in this drinking competition. Today, I won't stop until I'm drunk." Forthright, Zhu Chuan couldn't help but praise loudly. "Lin Ling, you won't stop until you're drunk. Once you're drunk, you'll be drunk for thousands of years." Zhu Chuan had some admiration for Lin Ling and immediately reminded him. Drunk for 1,000 years, not bad. Lin Ling didn't care at all. He smiled again and said, "Only yellow stone can solve my worries. Only yellow stone can solve my worries. Men, fill up Lin Ling's bowl." Zhu Chuan's spirits were even higher. Then, the gods who had agreed to the drinking competition walked out. There were quite a number of them, about a dozen of them. The main reason was that yellow stone wine was a rare divine wine. Many of them wanted to drink a few more cups to satisfy their craving. Zhu Chuan and the others immediately filled up the bowls for these people. Then, with Zhu Chuan taking the lead, he picked up the wine bowl and looked at everyone, saying, "Since we're all here on the 6th floor by fate, this cup of wine is for everyone to reach the 7th floor as soon as possible. Come." After that, Zhu Chuan drank the wine bowl in his hand in one gulp. Looking at Zhu Chuan's behavior, the people who had agreed to the drinking competition also drank the wine bowl in their hands in one gulp. "Damn, this wine is so strong. It's like drinking the Milky Way." Someone laughed loudly. His throat was burning and his stomach was surging like a raging river. Why did the sky change? Again. Today, we won't stop until we're drunk. I can't take it anymore. I can't hold my liquor. Sorry. After the first bowl of wine, many people's faces turned red and they started to sway. Those who could hold their liquor were still sober and shook their heads. Those who could not hold their liquor even laughed loudly and wanted to drink 3 more bowls. Unfortunately, their liquor tolerance was like that. After they finished speaking, they fell down with a bang. No matter what kind of strength they had, as long as they could not hold their liquor, they would all faint. Among these people, even Lei Gong was drunk. Yellow stone wine, even gods could not hold their liquor. It really lived up to its name. After Lin Ling drank it in one gulp, he felt his stomach churning. However, there was also a refreshing feeling that was hard to describe. However, Lin Ling also realized that after the wine entered his stomach, it spread throughout his body like a flood. His skin quietly turned red. It was only because his flesh was powerful that his entire body was refining the divine wine. Otherwise, he might have collapsed as well. When he noticed that the refining process of his body was condensing, Lin Chen was overjoyed. This was a rare opportunity. Again, he took the lead and shouted, "Equal sign." Chapter 53:22. As soon as Lin Ling's voice fell, everyone present widened their eyes. Being able to drink a cup of such a strong wine like the Yellowstone wine was already considered a master of wine. Lin Ling actually wanted to drink more. When did this brat become so good at drinking? Lei Gong was staring. He was familiar with Lin Ling. In his impression, Lin Ling was not an alcoholic. Leader Lin Ling was in the mood to drink. "Good, I'll risk my life to accompany you." Again. A leader of the 3 societies and 9 temples laughed loudly. After that, he placed the big bowl on the table in front of him. Bold, this is what a god should be like. Zhu Chuan couldn't help but laugh. He asked someone to fill the bowl with good wine. "Can't hold my liquor, can't hold my liquor." "I won't do it." "Sorry." Previously, there were dozens of people drinking. After the first cup, many of them shook their heads and waved their hands, completely giving up. There were less than 10 people who still dared to compete in drinking, and these people were worthy of the title of God of Wine. Bang! After the second cup was filled, people continued to drink in big mouthfuls. Then all kinds of forthright sounds could be heard. This Yellowstone wine was getting more and more right and smoother. They even felt that their cultivation realm and the power of the universe were increasing. That feeling was indescribable. Bang bang bang. But soon, people collapsed one after another. They were drunk and fainted. Moreover, it came without any warning. Come, I can still drink." Among those who fainted, someone was shouting in a low voice. But in the end, he still fell asleep. At this time, there were less than 5 people left. Carefree. Suddenly, a loud roar was heard. It was Lin Ling. His face was red, and his whole body was filled with dense fog formed by thick alcohol clouds. "Ha, Lin Ling, you're really good at drinking. Can you still drink?" Looking at Zhu Chuan, he was about the same as Lin Ling. His face was red, and his whole body was filled with thick alcohol clouds. "Of course, old brother Zhu Chuan, I'm risking my life to accompany you." Lin Ling laughed heartily and licked his lips. He could feel that after drinking the second cup of Yellowstone wine, his body was like a furnace. A mysterious energy was rushing through his body, and it was as if something had been activated in his body. He actually felt a sense of joy. Lin Ling knew that the Yellowstone wine was further stimulating his physical strength. "That's good. Tasan, pour the wine." Zhu Chuan was a god of the giant god race. His corporeal body was incredibly strong, and his tolerance for Yellowstone wine far surpassed that of others. However, he was different from Lin Ling in that he drank Yellowstone wine all year round. His body had long since been tempered, and his adaptability was much better. "What about you guys? Can you still hold on?" Zhu Chuan looked at the other gods and said, "Half a cup, at most half a cup. The more I drink, the more it suits my appetite. As expected of the Yellowstone wine, I can still drink it." The remaining few people had their own opinions, but it was obvious that they were already a little drunk. Moreover, they did not have the heavy smell of alcohol that Lin Ling and Zhu Chuan had. This meant that they had to endure the extremely strong alcohol strength of the Yellowstone wine. Zhu Chuan immediately roared. They were all crazy. This was the 3rd cup. Jushan trembled as he filled everyone's cups with Yellowstone wine. His face was pale because one could not drink more than 3 cups of Yellowstone wine. Otherwise, they would end up sleeping for 1,000 years. It had been many years since he had seen someone drink Yellowstone wine so crazily. When the wine was filled, the remaining gods looked at the big bowls of wine. A few of them licked their lips, feeling like they could not drink anymore. Bottoms up first. Zhu Chuan was the first to finish the wine in his hand. Then he felt a little dizzy. Even if he was a giant god and had already drunk Yellowstone wine, 3 cups in a row was still too much for him. Of course, he had only just gotten excited from drinking. He was not drunk yet. Drink. When the remaining gods saw this, they roared. As gods of wine, how could they be at a disadvantage? They all raised their bowls and drank in big mouthfuls. Pooh! Someone drank halfway and fainted. He could not drink anymore. Someone had just finished drinking and vomited on the spot. Then he fainted with a bang. 3 cups, this was clearly their limit. Bang bang bang. In the end, only Lin Ling and Zhu Chuan were left drinking. Lin Ling drank 3 cups and felt his body burning up. His mind was heavy, but he was very spirited. The more he drank, the more he wanted to drink. He could also feel the power of his fleshly body increasing at a crazy rate. It was as if his body had transformed into a vast universe that was erupting with power. His fleshly body power, which was originally 1,000,000,000,000 units, had broken through the limit and rushed into a new domain. Lin Ling, are you all right? Seeing Lin Ling's body reeking of alcohol, Feng Moyang was shocked. Now, anyone who approached Lin Ling would probably be drunk by the smell of alcohol on Lin Ling's body. I'm fine. Lin Ling smiled at Feng Moyang. Lin Ling, you're good. Zhu Chuan laughed. He did not expect Lin Ling's alcohol tolerance to be so good. However, he understood after thinking about it. Lin Ling could climb the 18 Dragon Mountains. This meant that his physical strength was extraordinary. Could he still drink? Zhu Chuan also felt a sense of superiority. He had not met such an opponent in a long time. Of course. Lin Ling laughed. Zhu Chuan immediately waved his hand. Seeing the two of them rushing toward the 4th cup, everyone present was shocked, especially Zhu Shan and the other gods of the giant god clan. They knew what drinking 4 cups of Yellowstone wine in a row meant. Zhu Chuan was the true leader of the giant god clan and the owner of the Yellowstone wine. It was normal for him to be able to drink, but Lin Ling could also drink so much. I'm very curious. How much can they drink? Keep watching and you'll find out. Everyone was curious. Then, they watched as Lin Ling and Zhu Chuan drank the 4th cup in one gulp. Terrifying. Many people shuddered. It was already the 4th cup, but they still drank it in one gulp. They were convinced. Not to mention drinking, just looking at it was terrifying. Again. This time, Lin Ling was the first to shout. Zhu Chuan immediately waved his hand. The two of them drank the 5th cup at the same time. Again. Gradually, the 6th cup went down their stomachs. Lin Ling was starting to get a little drunk. The band that held his long hair together snapped, and his long hair danced wildly, looking wild and unruly. Bang, bang, bang. Zhu Chuan took 3 steps back, and the wine bowl in his hand fell to the ground and shattered. However, the two of them looked at each other and laughed heartily, as if they wanted the other to drink first. Then, with a wave of their right hand, the wine jugs flew toward them. They looked at each other and bumped into each other in the air. Then, they abruptly grabbed the wine jugs and gulped them down. They were crazy. Everyone present retreated far away. The Yellowstone wine was too strong. Even the smell of the wine was enough to intoxicate people. Naturally, they had to stay far away. Watching Lin Ling and Zhu Chuan gulping down wine and using wine jugs, everyone was full of admiration. They were convinced. Lin Ling was the only one in the entire universe who dared to drink with their father like this. Zhu Shan almost knelt down. He really couldn't understand how Lin Ling could resist the strength of the Yellowstone wine. Boom, boom, boom. The more Lin Ling and Zhu Chuan drank, the more excited they became. Their bodies suddenly grew, and they turned into giants. The entire palace was pierced by them. From afar, one could only see the two giants drinking and chatting happily. Chapter 53:23. The air was filled with the smell of alcohol, forming rolling clouds of alcohol. These clouds scattered along the sky, and the scary thing was that any living thing that encountered them would be drunk. Not far from the palace, in the little sky forest, a large number of divine beasts were roaring towards the sky. However, their roars were cheerful, as if they were in the mood for alcohol. They ran around everywhere, and when they were drunk, they crashed down. And in the palace's garden, those insects, rats, ants, and other creatures were also drunk under the alcohol clouds and did not wake up. However, if one carefully sensed, they would discover that these creatures were also transforming. Yellowstone wine was after all a divine wine. Other than being able to get people drunk, it also had many benefits. Leader Lin Ling really has a good alcohol tolerance. He actually drank with Senior Ju Chuan for so long. I see that they are all indomitable true men. Seeing them drinking so boldly, I also want to join in. With your alcohol tolerance? Smelling is more like it. Looking at the two giants drinking at the top of the palace, many people felt a sense of heroism in their hearts. Lin Ling can really drink. Feng Moyang happily looked at Lin Ling previously. She was very worried. Don't worry about him. It's best if he drinks to death. At this time, Qing Zhu walked over and looked at Feng Moyang with a smile. You are Lin Ling's first wife. It seems that you two are very compatible. Feng Moyang's face immediately turned red. She knew that Qing Zhu was Lin Ling's senior sister, but her senior sister had already acknowledged her. This made her feel very surprised. We have met before. I am Yuer. At this time, Yuer also walked over with Xian Yuange and the others, and greeted with a smile. We have indeed met before. She knew that these were all Lin Ling's women, and now that Lin Ling had admitted his identity in front of them, they would probably be very unhappy. Feng Moyang nodded with a smile. She felt a little awkward towards Yuer and the others. She knew that they were all Lin Ling's women, and now that Lin Ling had admitted his identity in front of them, they would probably be very unhappy. Little sister Feng, don't think too much. Lin Ling was able to find you, we don't even have time to be happy. Seeing Feng Moyang's embarrassed appearance, Yuer immediately explained. But Feng Moyang could not help but frown. Yuer and Xian Yuange looked at each other and explained, because you are actually Lin Ling's first wife, and also his childhood sweetheart. Your name is Yu. You have been with Lin Ling for many years, and you have been through ups and downs together. If it weren't for the accident in the holy city of the sea, you wouldn't have died, and you wouldn't have been reincarnated into the chaotic world. Feng Moyang's face changed slightly. This was the first time she had heard of this. She couldn't help but look at Lin Ling, who was drinking, and her mood became even more complicated. Did she already know that man? She was his wife? However, why didn't she have any recollection of these memories? However, when she looked at Lin Ling's heroic manner of drinking, for some reason, she didn't feel any unfamiliarity in her heart. Instead, she felt that everything was natural. In fact, you also have a sense of familiarity with Lin Ling, don't you? Seeing that Feng Moyang didn't speak, Yuer also knew that it was difficult for her to accept. Feng Moyang nodded. At first, she thought that she had a good impression of Lin Ling because Lin Ling pretended to marry her and helped her deceive her pursuers. However, when she thought about it later, she realized that this wasn't the biggest reason at all. Because she was asked to fake marriage with a man who didn't give her a good impression and didn't let her believe him. How could she agree? Later, she chased to the Dao Tower and wanted to apologize to Lin Ling. If it was someone else, would she really come? I don't know what the feeling of familiarity is, but when I'm with Lin Ling, I feel very relaxed. Moreover, although we haven't seen each other much, I don't know why, but I don't feel any awkwardness with him. It's as if we have known each other for a long time. Feng Moyang whispered to herself. That's right. Yuer smiled faintly. Your clan, or the expert behind you, sealed your memories. After all, Lin Ling can actually sense the people who died back then. When he sensed you, he found that you were in the primal chaos realm. However, when he went to the primal chaos realm, he lost his senses again. Later, he sensed your aura in the Dao Tower. At that time, you also came to the Dao Tower. Unfortunately, the expert behind you is too strong. He sealed everything that you used to have, causing Lin Ling to be unable to sense you even when he was face to face with you. Hearing this, Feng Moyang instantly thought of her mother. Although she didn't know whether Yuer was right or not, she really wanted to know the real answer in her heart. Don't worry, Lin Ling will definitely have a way. When the time comes, you will know who you are and where you came from. Yuer comforted as she held Feng Moyang's hand. Feng Moyang nodded. Strangely, she and Yuer had not seen each other much, but when Yuer held her hand, she didn't feel the slightest bit of unfamiliarity. That feeling was as if Yuer was her elder sister. Come, Drink again, drink again. At this moment, a large number of cheers came from all around. Everyone was watching the two giants compete in drinking. Rumble. Lin Ling was already drunk to the point of dizziness. Hot blood rushed to his brain, but his body was constantly rumbling. His bones, blood vessels, and meridians were all emitting firecracker-like sounds. Brother Ju Chuan again. Sensing the drastic changes in his body, as if he was only one threshold away from rushing into a new realm, Lin Ling suddenly shouted, "You lunatic!" Ju Chuan transformed into a tall and sturdy giant. His silver hair fluttered, but he didn't have the domineering aura of a giant. His face was full of a bitter smile. He obviously knew that he was about to reach his limit. After all, he didn't know how much yellow stone wine he had drunk with Lin Ling. "Come!" Ju Chuan threw caution to the wind and roared. A wine jug floated over and landed in Lin Ling and Ju Chuan's hands. Then they threw their heads back and drank fiercely. "This is the first time I've seen someone who dares to compete in drinking with Dad." Ju Shan's face was full of admiration. He knew that there weren't many drunkards like Lin Ling in the entire giant god race. Boom! Lin Ling gulped down a large mouthful of yellow stone wine. Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from within his body as if the Big Bang had occurred. 8 stars appeared on Lin Ling's forehead, shining brightly as an ancient aura emanated from his body. Pangu's true body. Ju Chuan sensed the domineering aura on Lin Ling's body and was scared silly. The giant god race was Pangu's descendant. Pangu! Ju Shan and the other gods of the giant god race all trembled, their eyes filled with strong worship. Awesome! Lin Ling didn't know what they were thinking. When he sensed that a large seal had broken through in his body, he drank all of the wine jug in his hand. No wonder, no wonder. Ju Chuan muttered to himself after recovering from his shock. He now knew why Lin Ling could drink so much. Then he wanted to say something, but the wine jug in his hand suddenly fell to the ground, and his entire body collapsed like a mountain. Senior Ju Chuan. Seeing this scene, everyone shouted in unison, their faces full of worry. "It's fine, my dad is just drunk. He hasn't been drunk for many years." Ju Shan interrupted everyone with a wry smile. In the entire 6th floor, only Lin Ling could make his dad drunk. Then he looked at Lin Ling with starry eyes. Lin Ling was still drinking. That kind of wind was just like Panga's in the past. It had the power to split heaven and earth. Chapter 53-24. Perfect Supreme. As for Lin Ling, as he saw Ju Chuan fall to the ground, he raised his head to the sky and roared, as if he were venting the injustice in his heart. He picked up the wine jug and poured it into his mouth once more. Like a cow drinking water, he gulped it down. He can still drink. Seeing Lin Ling's tyrannical appearance, everyone shuddered once more. This was especially true for the leaders of the various divine races, including the 3 associations and 9 temples. They were all thoroughly convinced that Lin Ling could become the strongest overlord of the 6th level. However, when Lin Ling drank 3 more jugs of Yellowstone wine, he also calmed down and remained motionless. He was like a giant, like a great sword that was stabbed into the earth, piercing straight into the clouds. Lin Ling is finally drunk. Seeing this, many people let out a light breath. This great leader Lin Ling was finally drunk. If this continued, they even suspected that Lin Ling would never get drunk. "All right, let's not disturb them," Just Han said to everyone. He knew that once Lin Ling and his father were drunk, who knew when they would wake up? But what was certain was that these 2 people would wake up faster than ordinary people. After all, their bodies were far too formidable. They were both at the peak of the universe. The various leaders left one after another, chatting as they walked. As they recalled the wine competition, they felt that it was no less than a world-shaking battle. Lin Ling will be fine, right? Let's go back and wait for him. And Yue pulled on Feng Moyang's hand and left the palace, returning to the 18 Dragon Mountains. The palace that had been bustling with noise and excitement gradually quieted down. Only the 2 giants remained. One had fallen and the other was standing, as motionless as a stone statue. And the matter of this wine competition would probably spread throughout the 6th level before long, becoming a legend. The giant god race's Yellowstone wine was a legend. This was the god of wine. Anyone who dared to drink this wine would naturally arouse the curiosity of countless gods. Another year passed. At this time, the two giants at the top of the mountain, Zhu Chuan, who was lying down, moved slightly. Then, with a rumbling sound, his body continued to recover, returning to its original size. I haven't been so drunk in a long time. If it weren't for the fact that I had important matters to attend to, I would probably still be drunk. Zhu Chuan sat on the ground, shaking his heavy head, a bitter smile on his face. Not only was his head heavy, but it was also somewhat painful. The Yellowstone wine's effects had yet to dissipate. Lin Ling drank even more than me. I'm still drunk for some time. Zhu Chuan looked at the giant like Lin Ling and sighed inwardly. He had never imagined that Lin Ling would actually possess the true body of a Pangu. Such a divine body was one of a kind in the entire universe. This also meant that Lin Ling was also a descendant of the Pangu race. Their giant god race actually also had the bloodline of the Pangu race. However, they were not directly related to the Pangu race. Instead, they were servants of the Pangu race. When the Pangu race had created the world, their giant god race had been born. For their entire lives, they had been led by the Pangu race and served him. However, in the Great War that followed, the entire Pangu race had died in battle, causing the giant god race to be exiled. Now that Zhu Chuan saw a descendant of the Pangu race again, he would be lying if he said he wasn't excited. I must immediately report this matter to Chief Yu. Zhu Chuan muttered to himself. The giant god race didn't have many gods left on the 6th level, and they weren't very strong. There were even more powerhouses left on the later levels. Kakaka. At this moment, a gust of wind blew, and Lin Ling slowly opened his eyes. He woke up so quickly. Zhu Chuan was so shocked that he couldn't close his mouth. He knew that Lin Ling had drunk more than him, but he hadn't expected that Lin Ling would wake up faster than him. At this moment, Lin Ling opened his eyes slightly. First of all, he sensed a powerful force gushing out from his body. This was the strength of his fleshy body, and this strength was estimated to have reached the level of 200 trillion. This was a very terrifying increase. It must be known that Lin Ling's power of deity was only 15 trillion. Even with his innate talent fusion, it was only 3 million. And his fleshy body strength had already caught up with his power of deity. In addition, his fleshy body strength had always been more formidable than his power of deity. This meant that even though his current total strength seemed to be at 500 trillion, in reality, it had exceeded that. And right now, he only had the strength of an early-stage deity universe giant god, but his combat power was so strong that it was comparable to a late-stage deity universe giant god. Excluding those gods with great backgrounds, such as the 9 great universe stars and the world willpower, ordinary late-stage deity universe giant gods were probably no match for him. This Yellowstone wine is indeed powerful. Lin Ling was secretly shocked. If not for his body being unable to bear it, he would have wanted to use the Yellowstone wine to increase his fleshy body strength. Senior Zhu Chuan, you're awake? Suddenly, Lin Ling stared at the old man on the ground. Soon after, his figure shrunk. Zhu Chuan greets the great god. Seeing that Lin Ling had woken up, Zhu Chuan smiled excitedly. Then he knelt on one knee and bowed to Lin Ling. Senior Zhu Chuan, this is... Lin Ling was shocked. He wasn't familiar with Zhu Chuan and had only met him twice. Although his impression of him was quite good, there was no need for Zhu Chuan to kneel to him. Could it be that this old man was convinced that he had defeated Zhu Chuan in drinking? Lin Ling, there's something you don't know. The god who has Pangu's true body is actually the master of our giant god clan. Zhu Chuan was still kneeling as he said excitedly, our giant god clan was actually created by the great god, Pangu. We also have the bloodline of Pangu in our bodies, but it's not the orthodox bloodline. Ever since we were created, we knew that we would serve the Pangu clan for the rest of our lives. We would not hesitate to go through a mountain of blades or plunge into a sea of fire for them. Hearing this, Lin Ling felt somewhat awkward. He wasn't an orthodox member of the Pangu clan. He had obtained this Pangu's true body in the netherworld, snatched from the hands of a red-haired man. Now, that red-haired man was probably looking for him. Thinking of that red-haired man, Lin Ling inwardly shivered. Back then, that red-haired man had been like a demon to Lin Ling, like the sky, like hell. He was an enemy that Lin Ling simply couldn't resist. So many years had passed. He didn't know how that red-haired man was doing, but Lin Ling was sure that he was still looking for him. However, my strength has greatly increased. I'm 10 times or even 100 times stronger than before. Even if he finds me, he might not be able to kill me. Lin Ling inwardly muttered to himself. He said that the red-haired man might not be able to kill him, not whether Lin Ling could kill the red-haired man. This meant that even though Lin Ling's strength had greatly increased, he still didn't have much confidence in facing the red-haired man. Actually, I'm not a descendant of the Pangu clan. I was just lucky enough to obtain their bodies. Lin Ling explained to Zhu Chuan. He didn't want to hide anything from Zhu Chuan. Great God, to our giant god clan, no matter what your origin is, as long as you possess the Pangu's true body, you are our great god and also our master. Zhu Chuan said, still kneeling. Lin Ling couldn't help but smile bitterly. Senior Zhu Chuan, you should just call me Lin Ling. Get up first. Yes, great god, no Lin Ling. Zhu Chuan said respectfully, as if whatever Lin Ling said was the law. When he saw Zhu Chuan stand up, Lin Ling felt extremely helpless. He had only been drinking wine, yet he had become the master of the giant god clan. This change was too fast. Senior Zhu Chuan, is your giant god clan staying on the 6th floor? Lin Ling gestured for Zhu Chuan to sit down and asked. Chapter 53:25. Our giant god clan's powerhouses are mostly in the second half. It's said that the battle there is intense, and a large number of the universe's strongest powerhouses have gathered there. Zhu Chuan said solemnly, now, these universe rulers have gathered in the second half of the Dao Tower to fight for the tower. After all, the Chaos Realm is about to be destroyed, and the Dao Tower and Dao Realm will be the new Chaos Realm. After a pause, he continued, a personal universe can never compare to these most ancient universes, unless it's a god of creation who can create a universe no weaker than the Chaos Realm. Therefore, the gazes of the rulers still fall on the peak of the Dao Pagoda. In that case, the battle on the 7th level should be very intense. Lin Ling said solemnly. Zhu Chuan nodded. From the 7th level onwards, there are already rulers. The path from the 7th level to the 8th level is all sealed by powerful gods. It's very difficult. Thank you. Lin Ling frowned slightly. He could imagine how terrifying the 7th level was. Experts from all over would gather. There were powerhouses from the Chaos Realm, Lin Ling's former enemies, such as the 3 divine gates of White Mountain, the red-haired man from the underworld, the 9 universe stars, and so on. If you want to go to the 7th level, you must be careful. Zhu Chuan continued, if you encounter the giant god clan on the 7th level, just reveal Panga's body, and the giant god clan will definitely help you. Lin Chen nodded, chatted a little more, and left. After leaving the palace's teleportation array, Lin Ling appeared in the outside world and flew toward the 18 Dragon Mountains. Not long after, he returned to his territory. Lin Ling, you're back. Everyone was extremely happy to see Lin Ling. They didn't expect Lin Ling to wake up so quickly. In their impression, other gods would be drunk for thousands of years after drinking Yellowstone wine. Lin Ling chatted with his friends for a while and then saw a familiar figure. It was Feng Moyang. Feng Moyang was looking at Lin Ling with a smile. Although she hadn't met Lin Ling many times, for some reason, she didn't sense any unfamiliarity or awkwardness from Lin Ling. Lin Ling, you're back. Feng Moyang laughed. Seeing this, the others took their leave one after another, leaving space for Feng Moyang and Lin Ling. Lin Ling, you haven't seen Yu for many years. Make good use of this opportunity. And Yue and the others even winked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling smiled bitterly. Why did it seem like he had just met Feng Moyang and was pursuing her? He shook his head and walked towards Feng Moyang. On the contrary, Feng Moyang was much more magnanimous than Lin Ling. He strode forward and raised his head to look straight at Lin Ling. Lin Ling's words to her in the giant god clan's palace were words that Feng Moyang would never forget for the rest of her life. Husband and wife are birds in the same forest, but when disaster strikes, they fly separately. This is a saying from our predecessors. However, we have experienced so many storms in our lives, faced so many life and death situations, and faced so many disasters, but we have never flown separately. So why would we care about the opinions of ordinary people? I once promised you that in the future, I would hold your hand and roam the universe. I still remember this promise to this day. This was Lin Ling's promise, but Feng Moyang believed that for this promise, Lin Ling would never change his mind. Lin Ling, they said that I am you. Is that true? Feng Moyang looked up at Lin Ling. Lin Ling nodded. I am certain that you are Yu. Then do you like Yu, or do you like Feng Moyang? Feng Moyang asked. Lin Ling was immediately embarrassed. This question was too difficult to answer. After all, from the bottom of his heart, he definitely liked Yu more. Without Yu, he, Lin Ling, would never have been together with Feng Moyang. I am just teasing you. Feng Moyang suddenly smiled. I knew it. You like Yu a lot. This shows that you're not a fickle person. Otherwise, I would definitely look down on you. However, I like you, but I'm not used to you liking Yu and not me. So, I want to find my lost memories. I can help you. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. However, according to your previous guess, my memories were sealed by my mother. If you want to break the seal, she will definitely know and stop you. Feng Moyang said worriedly. Your mother should be Lady Nuwa. However, what does this have to do with me? I am just helping my wife to find her memories. That is all. Lin Ling said solemnly. Even if she stops me, as long as you agree, I will not shirk my duty. Thank you. Feng Moyang said gratefully. If you want to break the seal, you must block Lady Nuwa's senses as much as possible. Let's go to my Lin Ling universe. Lin Ling said again and then brought Feng Moyang into the Lin Ling universe. After all, in the Lin Ling universe, Lin Ling's strength can be displayed to the peak. Coupled with the universe's obstruction, Lady Nuwa might not be able to find out what Feng Moyang is doing. After returning to the Lin Ling universe, Lin Ling also informed Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others that he found Yu. Everyone ran over happily and then looked at Feng Moyang in shock. You are back. Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others' eyes were moist. Yu disappeared for thousands of years and now, she is finally back. To them, Yu has been with them for so many years and is already their child. Grandfather. Feng Moyang looked at Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others awkwardly. After all, she doesn't know any of them. However, she can feel the excitement of Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others. This made her even more eager to break the seal. Grandfather, mother, you can go back first. Yu's memories have not returned yet. I am planning to break the seal for her. Lin Ling smiled. In fact, a part of Yu's memories is hidden in his body. It was collected before reincarnation. However, if he wants to integrate these memories into Feng Moyang's body, he must break the seal. All right, we won't disturb you anymore. Old Ancestor Extreme Flame and the others reluctantly left. Lin Ling, let's begin. Feng Moyang looked at Lin Ling with a trace of expectation. All right. Lin Ling nodded and waved his right hand. Fellow Taoist, thank you for your trouble. The void trembled slightly. Then, Lin Ling in long robes walked out and looked at Lin Ling with a smile. Congratulations, fellow Taoist Lin Ling. They are all Lin Ling's avatars. With just a thought from Lin Ling, they know what Lin Ling wants to do. In fact, after so many years of cultivation, their strength is already incomparably powerful. However, they want to protect the Lin Ling universe, so they rarely leave. In addition, after leaving, their strength will weaken. Then, they sat down cross-legged in the sky and waved their hands, setting up powerful laws to strengthen the universe and prevent Lady Nuwa from easily discovering this place. After setting up a line of defense, Lin Ling said to Yu, I have set up an endless defense here. If your mother wants to find this place, it will take a lot of time. When she finally finds out, she will be blocked by the universe. During this time, she should be able to break the seal for you. == Chapter 53:26. Perfect Supreme. Lin Ling, I believe in you. Yu Yu heavily nodded her head. Lin Ling's hands moved slightly and a ray of light floated out from his body. This ray of light was Yu Yu's memories before she was reincarnated. However, it wasn't complete and a part of it was hidden in Feng Moyang's body. These two memories needed to fuse together before Feng Moyang could become Yu Yu again. Controlling this wisp of memory, Lin Ling carefully wrapped it with divinity, soul force, and universe force. After all, this wisp of memory was very fragile. If it were to suffer a heavy blow, it might turn into ashes. This formless energy quietly entered Feng Moyang's body and then flowed through his limbs, bones, and internal organs. Lin Ling immediately noticed that after the ray of light entered, Feng Moyang's body clearly changed. Although this change was very weak, it was still noticed by Lin Ling. This meant that Feng Moyang was catering to that wisp of memory. Feng Moyang is indeed Yu Yu. Lin Ling was even more certain. He moved forward with that wisp of memory, searching for the seal within Feng Moyang's body. Gradually, Lin Ling finally sensed the seal within Feng Moyang's soul. The seal was blue in color and had a large number of complicated runes on its surface. At this moment, it was motionless and extremely mysterious. Lin Ling didn't dare to cause too much of a commotion. After all, this was Feng Moyang's body. If he wasn't careful, Feng Moyang would be heavily injured. He gradually approached the seal and then mobilized divinity, soul force, universe force, and world will force to attack the seal. The moment he touched the seal, the blue light suddenly flourished and an ancient majestic aura bloomed. It was extremely terrifying. Bang! There was a rumbling sound. Feng Moyang's body seemed to have turned into a universe as a powerful force protected her. The blue seal awakened and turned into a tall ancestral snake. The snake raised its head high and looked down on Lin Ling's power. Who is it? A clear voice sounded at the same time, mixed with a thick majestic aura. What a powerful force! Lin Ling was shocked. He could sense that this power was different from all the powers he had encountered in the Dao Pagoda. It was more like the power of the Chaos Realm. This was the power of the Hegemon Yuan. However, what made Lin Ling let out a sigh of relief was that after this power awakened, the first thing it did was to protect Feng Moyang. This meant that even if a great battle broke out in Feng Moyang's body, it would not affect Feng Moyang. Lin Ling. Lin Ling's soul responded. He was Yu Yu's husband, so he had to admit it openly. You're Lin Ling. Surprisingly, Nua actually knew Lin Ling. You finally found her. But let me tell you, she's my child. No one can take her away. Although you are the host body of the world will and have an illustrious reputation in the Dao Pagoda, this is not the reason you can take her away. Even if your master, Patriarch Bodhi, was here, he still wouldn't have the qualifications. For the sake of your master, I'll spare you this time. Now scram. The woman's voice was cold and dignified. What made Lin Ling shocked was that this was only a seal, but it gave Lin Ling a feeling of worship, as if he was looking at the ancestor of all life in the universe. According to legend, the Hegemon Yuan had once mended the heavens and created all life in the universe when it was first formed. It could be said that she was also a creation god. However, what she created was not the universe, but all life. From this point of view, she was still weaker than the creation god. Is the power of a ruler so strong? No, impossible. She should be in existence above the rulers. Lin Ling's thoughts raced. This was the first time he had fought against such a powerful ancient god. Lin Ling's current cultivation realm was at the early stage of the deity realm, but he was sure that he could fight against a late-stage deity realm universe giant. If the deity's body and origin were ordinary, Lin Ling could even defeat the other party. Therefore, although Lin Ling had never seen the power of a ruler, he could vaguely guess a thing or two. Nua's power had definitely surpassed that of a ruler. I'm sorry, but Lin Ling, can't do it. Lin Ling put away his thoughts and said firmly, I don't care if you are Nua or a creation god. Yu Yu is my wife, so no one can take her away. After saying that, Lin Ling activated all his power and blasted it toward the blue ancestral serpent. You are very bold, but do you think you can fight against me with your strength? The blue ancestral serpent seemed to be enraged, and it burned like a flame. However, when Lin Ling's power came crashing down, the blue ancestral serpent was clearly affected. It then exclaimed, "You actually control so much power." She could clearly sense that Lin Ling had powerful soul energy, deity energy, universe energy, and world will energy. Soul energy and world will energy, especially, were unique existences in the current universe. After all, most gods only controlled deity energy and universe energy. "I won't let you have your way." The blue ancestral serpent was blocking the impact of Lin Ling's 4 powers, but Lin Ling could sense that the ancestral serpent couldn't block them at all. After all, this was just a seal. However, Lin Ling had to be careful of the power that came from outside Lin Ling's universe. Sure enough, a voice sounded in Lin Ling's soul. "Fellow Taoist, outside the universe, there are several more powerful forces that are now attacking Lin Ling's universe. Fellow Taoist, we can't hold on any longer. That force is about to enter Lin Ling's universe. Fellow Taoist, that force rushed into the universe and is rushing here quickly." The voice came from Lin Ling's doppelganger, which made Lin Ling's expression change drastically. Nua's strength was terrifying. One had to know that he was on the 6th level, while Nua was in the primal chaos realm. However, Nua was able to rush into the 6th level with a powerful force and find him in the vast 6th level. "Mobilize the laws of the universe and block her with all your strength." Lin Ling's soul transmitted a message. This was Lin Ling's universe, and it was Lin Ling's territory. He didn't believe that an outsider could escape the control of a universe god. Unfortunately, Lin Ling was in for an accident this time. Although Lin Ling was the god of creation in Lin Ling's universe, Nua's strength was too strong. She had the power to ignore a large number of laws. At this moment, a large number of figures were seated cross-legged in the outside world, and they were utilizing the laws to resist a dense mist that was like the glow of a sunset. The mist seemed to be profound, yet it contained an extremely formidable force, and any laws had an extremely small effect on it. "Lin Ling, Nua is here. How much longer do you need on your side?" At this moment, a familiar voice was heard. It was Guang Qingzi. "At least 3 incense sticks time." Lin Ling said anxiously. "Okay, release us. We will try our best to block for you for 3 incense sticks time." Guang Qingzi said solemnly. Lin Ling was now in control of 4 square prisons, which imprisoned countless gods after the creation of the universe. Among these gods, there must be some super strong existences. If they joined forces, they should be able to hold on for 3 incense sticks time for Lin Ling. "Get out." In the outside world, Lin Ling stretched out his hand, and the 4 square prisons floated out. Then, countless rays of light shot out and turned into ancient gods. Equal sign. Chapter 53:27. Nuar is here. Countless gods appeared in the Lin Ling universe. They looked at the sunset in the distance solemnly, and their auras were both strong and weak. Although they were gods who had survived the great tribulation of the world's will, and most of them were very powerful, they were extremely afraid of Nua. After all, Nua was extremely famous in their era. "Square prison." A cold voice floated out. It was Nua's voice. With her knowledge, she instantly recognized the origins of these gods. What surprised her was that the 4 square prisons were actually obtained by Lin Ling. This Lin Ling was quite amazing. "Lady Nua." The voices of the gods were somewhat solemn, including Guang Qingzi's. "Nua." Among them, the Monkey King did not dare to be too arrogant. After all, his original body was actually the divine sky-mending stone in Nua's hand. It could be said that most of the gods present were related to Nua, as if they were her people and descendants. "How dare you stop me? Get out of my way." The sunset emitted anger and majesty, making the gods make way for her. The will in the hearts of the gods was shaken, and they did not dare to stop Nua. "Everyone, Lin Ling is the Lord above you. His orders are equally important to you." At this time, Lin Ling's clones in the distance shouted in unison, reminding the gods. The expressions of the gods changed, and hesitation appeared in their hearts. "Yes, we are sinners who have been imprisoned in the square prison for tens of billions of years. The only one who can return our freedom is the prison lord. At this time, Guangqingzi also shouted, "Lady Nuwa has been kind to us, but now we belong to the square prison, the god of creation." When his voice faded away, the eyes of the gods gradually became firm. Nuwa was the oldest god in the universe and had created all the creatures in the universe. However, there was an even older god who had created the entire universe, and this person was the god of creation. The square prison was created by the god of creation, which meant that the god behind them was the god of creation. From this point of view, they should listen to Lin Ling. "How dare you?" Nuwa's voice was filled with anger when she sensed everyone's intentions. Moreover, she also sensed that Lin Ling had reached a critical moment in breaking the seal. "Then let's see how you lot are going to stop me." The sunset glow surged, blotting out the sky and engulfing the deities. "Stop her!" Guangqingzi roared and led the gods to attack Nuwa. They were powerful and numerous, so the power they could unleash was extremely terrifying. Most importantly, there were quite a few sovereigns amongst them. However, the most terrifying thing was that the sunset glow seemed to be able to ignore the power of gods and the power of the universe. Many gods roared, "Life force!" They sensed that their bodies were withering, and their life force was continuously disappearing. "I can create all life in the universe, and I can also destroy all life in the universe." Nuwa's cold voice drifted out. It was so ruthless and so decisive. In the face of such a powerful force, the gods simply couldn't resist Nuwa's means. What appeared here is only a trace of Lord Nuwa's will, but a trace of her will is already so strong. If Lord Nuwa's true body is here, who in the universe can stop her? Guangqingzi could also sense that his life force was disappearing, and his body was becoming extremely weak. However, when he thought of the mission Lin Ling had entrusted to him, he gritted his teeth and endured it. "Everyone, form a huge whirlpool," someone shouted, causing the eyes of all the gods to light up. Guangqingzi looked in the direction of the voice and realized that it was the mysterious green-robed Taoist who had spoken. However, he was right. The strongest thing in the square prison was still that huge ancient whirlpool. "Lin Ling." Guangqingzi also roared and asked Lin Ling to help. At this moment, Lin Ling was rapidly breaking the seal, but the power left in Feng Moyang's body was also very tenacious and repeatedly injured Lin Ling. After hearing Guangqingzi's suggestion, he immediately controlled the four-square prison to rotate. Rumble. In Lin Ling's universe, the four floating stone tablets slowly moved, and their speed became faster and faster, gradually forming a huge whirlpool. At the edge of the whirlpool, the various gods were assisting. It has to be said that after the huge whirlpool was formed, it formed a powerful force that resisted Nuwa's life force. The seemingly beautiful but ruthless sunset was actually sucked into the huge whirlpool after encountering it. "Lin Ling, don't think that this little trick can stop me." Nuwa's voice became a little more sinister. To her, Feng Moyang was her child and the child she doted on the most. She could not allow others to take her away. One must know that for a god of creation like Nuwa, after experiencing so many years, she was already used to seeing birth, old age, sickness, and death. To her, all living things were ants. Even if her disciple died in front of her, she would not be moved. However, if it was her children, it would be different. In the entire vast universe, they were the only things that could move her. "If you want to die, I will fulfill your wish." Including Lin Ling and countless other gods, to Nuwa, they were just a speck of dust. An even more powerful force came through the void, like the supreme power of the universe, sweeping in all directions. Nuwa once again mobilized a portion of her strength to Lin Ling's universe. The first to be affected was the huge whirlpool in the square prison. This huge whirlpool actually began to slowly stop. The second to be affected was Lin Ling. From Feng Moyang's seal, a vast force was reflected back. With Lin Ling's current strength, it was simply impossible for him to resist. What a powerful strength! Lin Ling was shocked. He could feel that his soul force had been destroyed. One must know that this was only a portion of Nuwa's power that reached Lin Ling's universe from the primal chaos realm. Yet, this was already difficult for Lin Ling to resist. If Nua's main body came, she would probably only need to move her eyebrows to turn Lin Ling into ashes. I don't believe it. At the crucial moment, Lin Ling's soul force also reflected a stubborn will. He, Lin Ling, came from ancient Yen sect. He had already experienced countless twists and turns in his life. He was also the only martial artist in the Heaven Mystics Kingdom, and even in that world, who had survived the Great Calamity. Now, although he had met the powerful Nua, Lin Ling's firm will that had been cultivated all this time was also supporting him. He and Yu were separated by life and death. It was not easy for them to reunite. How could he give up now? If he fell here, Lin Ling would never forgive himself for the rest of his life. His soul power, which had been extinguished, was once again ignited, as if a seed was sprouting. In the outside world, the square prison that was gradually becoming motionless suddenly started to rotate again. However, the speed was not as fast as it was at the beginning. With just you. Nua's disdainful voice resounded amidst the rolling sunset. She could sense that the seal in Feng Moyang's body was just a hair's breadth away from being undone. However, this tiny bit was like a vast ocean to Lin Ling. It was impossible for him to succeed. Although Lin Ling's soul power had reignited from the ashes, it was as simple as a thought for her to destroy that soul power again. Chapter 53:28. Lin Ling's soul force carries all kinds of power as it continues to attack the seal within Feng Moyang's body. Now that seal is on the verge of collapse, just a little bit more. I will definitely succeed. Lin Ling's soul force is filled with concentration. He can already see a ray of light. Feng Moyang is sitting cross-legged. Although she can't sense the changes in the outside world, she can still sense Lin Ling's persistence. Lin Ling, you can definitely do it. Feng Moyang mutters in her heart. Moreover, she has already sensed the arrival of her mother. Regarding this, her heart is extremely complicated. Nua is very good to her and is also her most respected mother. However, she also wants to know her lost memories. Yang, why are you helping this man? At this time, a gentle voice arrives. Feng Moyang can clearly hear that this is Nua's voice. Mother! Feng Moyang calls out in her heart. However, she is unable to answer Nua's question. Stop him. Don't let him succeed. I believe that you have been deceived by him. Mother, I believe him. Feng Moyang finally replied, his thoughts carrying a hint of firmness. Yang, he is the world will's host body. How can you believe his words? I am your mother. Nua's voice is filled with anger and majesty. Although Nua has always cared for Feng Moyang, she has always been very strict with her children. Mother, Yang, you have grown up. You have already started to not listen to mother's words. You have disappointed me. I order you to immediately stop him. Nua furiously says. Feng Moyang would not stop Lin Ling at all. However, Nua was her mother after all. She had raised her since she was young. Feng Moyang had always followed Nua when she was young. She knew that Nua was really good to her, but she was a little strict and did not allow her children to make any mistakes. I can't do it. Feng Moyang finally resolves her thoughts. This is also the first time she has rebelled against Nua since young. Nua is clearly not used to this and is even more furious. He is only helping me recover my lost memories. I also want to know those memories. So, forgive your daughter for being unfilial. Even if he is really helping you recover your memories, those are your memories from your previous lives. These memories no longer belong to you. The you in this life is the real you. I know. However, if I don't have the chance to know my past memories, I will not be reluctant. But if I have this chance, I want to know what I did in my previous life and who I am. Young, if you insist on going your own way, don't call me mother from now on. Mother! Under Nua's final threat, Feng Moyang remained firm in her decision. However, when she thought of Nua's words, she still felt extremely sad. Lin Ling, what have you done to my daughter? Nua was furious. Once again, she gathered a powerful force and attacked the Lin Ling universe. Rumble. Under the impact of the wave-like sunset glow, the prison that had just started spinning was completely frozen. Stop her! Guang Qingzi and the rest's faces changed. They frantically tried to block the life force of the sun. However, this time Nuwa is clearly angry. She ignored them and turned into a wave, sending them all flying. Her power is too strong. So strong that it is beyond everyone's imagination. After this power sent Guang Qingzi and the rest flying, it swept through all of Lin Ling's avatars and finally rushed into Lin Ling's body. At this moment, the seal has reached the most critical moment. However, Lin Ling instantly felt a powerful force rushing in. This force is so fierce that it is beyond his imagination, causing him to be unable to fight back. Lin Ling. A majestic voice resounds in Lin Ling's soul. Nuwa. Lin Ling roars, knowing that a great disaster is about to befall him. How can my daughter be touched by a small god like you? Even if you are the host of the world will, in my eyes, you are still an ant. Nuwa's voice is like the might of the heavens, wanting to erase Lin Ling. However, just as Lin Ling thought that death is inevitable, a kind voice suddenly resounds in Lin Ling's mind. Child. A warm feeling surges through his body, especially his soul force. Lin Ling feels the most comfortable. It has to be known that Nuwa's constant attacks have caused his soul force to be severely damaged. This is also the first time in his life that Lin Ling's soul force has been damaged. However, after that kind voice resounds, his soul force continues to recover. Then, Lin Ling sees a massive Bodhi ancient tree appear in his mind. The Bodhi ancient tree gently swayed, sprinkling down sparkling light. Master! Lin Ling instantly knows who is helping him. Patriarch Bodhi. Nuwa also noticed that Lin Ling is being protected. She is furious because she was so close to killing Lin Ling and rescuing her daughter. Patriarch Bodhi, your disciple wants to take my daughter away. As his master, not only did you not discipline him, you even condone him. How should you punish yourself? Nuwa yells at Patriarch Bodhi. Nuwa, my disciple and your daughter are fated by the heavens. Outsiders should not interfere in their matters. Fate is fate. Let the universe decide everything. In your dreams. Nuwa's voice is sharp. However, Patriarch Bodhi does not explain anything to her. He only protects Lin Ling with his supreme strength. At the same time, Lin Ling uses this opportunity to break the seal. Nuwa's energy is chaotic, but there is nothing she can do. After a few more attempts, she finally gives up. Lin Ling, this matter is not over. Sooner or later, I will bring my daughter back. After threatening Lin Ling, Nuwa's energy begins to retreat. Within Lin Ling universe, the roiling sunset glow recedes like a receding tide. She left. Seeing Nuwa leave, Guang Chengzi and the other gods felt as though they had just survived a calamity. The originally turbulent Lin Ling universe also began to regain its tranquility. It is hard to imagine that if this continues, the entire universe will collapse. Success. Within Feng Moyang's body, Lin Ling can clearly sense that the seal on Feng Moyang has disappeared. He hurriedly withdrew his soul force. Lin Ling, Nuwa will not let this matter rest. You had better leave the 6th floor immediately. Patriarch Bodhi's benevolent voice comes, carrying a hint of a smile. Thank you, Master. No need to thank me. After you became my disciple, I have not helped you much. This time, it can be considered that I have fulfilled my responsibility as a master. You should also quickly go to the 7th floor. The closer you are to the peak of the Dao Tower, the weaker Nuwa's power becomes. Unless she can personally come to the Dao Tower. Master, will she come to the Dao Tower? The primal chaos realm is already collapsing. At that time, the 8 gods of the primal chaos realm will enter the Dao Tower. At that time, I fear that the universe will be filled with a reign of terror. All right, Master is leaving. Take care of yourself. Thank you, Master. After chatting with Patriarch Bodhi for a while, Lin Ling stood up. He discovered that not only was his soul force not injured, it had actually improved. Then he looked at Feng Moyang expectantly. He did not know if the Feng Moyang who opened her eyes again will be Yu or Feng Moyang. Chapter 53:29. Feng Moyang sat cross-legged as her long eyelashes fluttered. Lin Ling looked at her expectantly. Suddenly, he saw Feng Moyang slowly open her eyes. Yu Yu! Lin Ling softly called out. Feng Moyang's eyes gradually opened as a familiar light flickered in her eyes. She suddenly stared at the man in front of her as her expression drastically changed and gradually revealed a smile. Brother Ling! She softly called out. That voice was very familiar, as if he had not heard it for several centuries. Yu Yu! Lin Ling's entire body trembled. He knew that Yu Yu had returned. His eyes instantly moistened as he walked towards Yu step by step. Brother Ling! Feng Moyang also stood up and walked towards Lin Ling step by step. Although her appearance had changed, her temperament was exactly the same as Yu Yu. I finally found you. Feng Moyang's pace was very slow at the beginning but gradually sped up. She suddenly pounced towards Lin Ling and hugged Lin Ling. That's right, you finally found me. Lin Ling tightly hugged Yu Yu in his embrace as if he wanted to melt her into his body. Ever since the battle at Ocean's Sacred City, Lin Ling's family and friends had all died. It was Lin Ling who went on a killing spree in the underworld and found the souls of his family and friends one by one and brought them back. The only one missing was Yu Yu. After Lin Ling returned from the underworld, he traveled all over the world to the Chaos Realm, but he did not find Yu Yu. What he did not expect was that after he entered the Chaos Realm, the first person he saw was Yu Yu. It was just that he missed her and brushed past Yu Yu. Now that he thought about it, it was as if it was destined by the underworld. The two of them hugged like this for a very long time. The feelings between them could be traced back to the distant era. There was no need to say anything to each other. Time passed quietly. Lin Ling suddenly smiled and said, "Let's go and see Grandpa and the others." As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward. It was as if he was moving through the void. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in another part of the sky. Congratulations, fellow Taoist. All of Lin Ling's doppelgangers cupped their hands towards Lin Ling, feeling happy for Lin Ling. They were all Lin Ling's doppelgangers, so they could sense Lin Ling's excitement at this moment. Lin Ling, congratulations. Master Guangqing and the others were also laughing loudly. Thank you, everyone. Lin Ling nodded at everyone and waved his right hand. The square prison took Guangqingzi and the others back. His avatars also left one after another to stabilize the Lin Ling universe. Previously, when Lady Nuwa wreaked havoc here, Lin Ling universe almost collapsed. Fortunately, Patriarch Bodhi appeared at the critical moment and blocked Lady Nuwa's attack for Lin Ling. Now, under the efforts of his doppelgangers, Lin Ling universe was also rapidly recovering. Lin Ling naturally had no time to care about Lin Ling universe. He took another step and appeared in front of Patriarch Extreme Flame and the others. At this moment, all of Lin Ling's relatives were gathered together. When Lin Ling and Yu Yu appeared, everyone trembled with excitement. You're back. Patriarch Extreme Flame and Emo Nienshin were the first to rush out and then held Yu's hand. They could not help but tear up. Yu was Lin Ling's first woman and also his first wife. Everyone knew this. Everyone come back. Lin Ling shouted into the void again. When Yu and the others heard the news, they all used their Dao to return to the heavenly plane and ran back happily. Yu. Figures appeared one after another. Yu and the rest looked at Yu excitedly. Although Yu's appearance did not change, her temperament had changed. Especially the way she looked at them had changed. Now, Yu could be considered a combination of Yu and Feng Moyang. Sister Yu. Yu looked at the familiar faces and cried and laughed. Then, she rushed over and hugged everyone. You're finally back. And Yuer and the others were very happy and cherished everything that had not come easy. Lin Ling looked at the reunion of his family and felt a sense of pride in his heart. He fought outside, fought against gods from all sides, and repeatedly walked between life and death. The belief that supported him to live and fight was these family members. It's rare for you to come back. Everyone, stay at home for a few more days. Ancestor Taiyan said to everyone. In the following days, Lin Ling did not leave the Lin Ling universe. Instead, he accompanied Yu and Yuer and the others. The days passed peacefully and happily. At some point, Lin Ling even thought of living like this for the rest of his life. After all, he had been fighting for too long. From an unknown warrior to the top giant god of the universe, he was tired and wanted to live a simple and happy life. Of course, Lin Ling knew that this was only a temporary thought. He now had too many enemies. If he stopped fighting, then there would be a great calamity waiting for them. The best-case scenario was that all of them would die, and the worst-case scenario was unpredictable. Therefore, Lin Ling could not stop. Several days later, Lin Ling took Yu Yu and the others on a journey back to the 6th floor of the Dao Pagoda. "Lin Ling, you're back." The Yellow Emperor, Lei Gong, and the others happily welcomed Lin Ling. During this time, did anything happen on the 6th floor of the Dao Pagoda? Lin Ling asked. Although a large number of gods entered the 6th floor of the Dao Pagoda, overall, everything went smoothly. The Yellow Emperor smiled and said, "I guess that most of the top gods are on the 7th floor. However, Senior Juchuan told me last time that the grand mist cloud that leads to the 7th floor has appeared at the top of the 18 Dragon Mountains and is slowly flowing down. We are not sure when it will arrive, so we can only wait. We must leave the 6th floor as soon as possible." Lin Ling knew that after Nua's failure, she would definitely call for experts to come to the 6th floor. They could not stay on the 6th floor for long. The path from the 6th floor to the 7th floor would take a long time to appear. Therefore, as long as they entered the 7th floor, those experts would not be able to catch up to them in a short time. "Tomorrow, we will set off to the place where the grand mist cloud will appear," Lin Ling said solemnly. The Yellow Emperor and the others could see that Lin Ling really wanted to leave immediately. They also guessed the reason and nodded their heads. Moreover, Lin Ling also told them that they would all go to the 7th floor together, so as to avoid any friends who stayed behind and encountered trouble. Everyone was shocked by Lin Ling's suggestion because no one was sure that the Grand Mist Cloud would be able to take everyone away. Everyone left the 18 Dragon Mountains and called for Juchuan. Juchuan had been walking around the peak of the 18 Dragon Mountains and was also observing the Grand Mist Cloud. Therefore, he could roughly guess where the Grand Mist Cloud would appear. "Lord Lin Ling, I estimate that the Grand Mist Cloud that will teleport you to the 7th floor will appear within 3 days. Moreover, it will only last for a short period of time, about 2 hours before it disappears." Juchuan was very polite to Lin Ling, and it could even be said that he was respectful. The main thing was that Lin Ling had Panga's real body and was the master they had to serve. "Thank you, Senior Juchuan." Lin Ling nodded and then looked at everyone present. There were a lot of people. The One Fong race, the Sun God race, and so on were all present. This was especially true for the 12-winged Sun God and the others. After all, they had been here for too long. They had always wanted to enter the 7th floor, but they had never been able to find a way to teleport. Chapter 53:30. Everyone had stayed on the 6th floor for far too long. Everyone wanted to enter the 7th floor and explore the ultimate secret of the Dao Pagoda. However, no one knew the path to the 7th floor. If Juchuan hadn't announced it, they would probably have to wait aimlessly. "Since it's within 3 days, we'll wait here for 3 days. Lin Ling looked at everyone and said, "It's only 3 days. We'll wait here." Everyone nodded, their expressions full of excitement. Next, everyone rested on the spot. Looking carefully, there were many people and countless powerhouses. In addition, the people of the Giant God clan also arrived one after another. As new members of the Giant God clan had arrived on the 5th floor, the Giant God clan gods on the 6th floor could also leave. "Lord Lin Ling, if you enter the 7th floor, we'll go with you. We'll bring you to the Giant God clan on the 7th floor. They'll definitely help you." Juchuan sat down beside Lin Ling and said with a smile. Lin Ling had many enemies now, but the one he had to worry about the most was Nua, so he didn't refuse Juchuan's help. "Thank you for your help, Brother Juchuan." "You're welcome." Juchuan shook his head. Lin Ling had Panga's true body and was the master of the Giant God clan in the most ancient era. Brother Ling were about to enter the 7th floor, and were getting closer and closer to the 9th floor. "Once we reach the 9th floor, no one in the entire universe can threaten us. At that time, we'll live a peaceful life and ignore everything." Yu looked at Lin Ling and said, after her memories returned, she knew how many ups and downs she had gone through with Lin Ling. Now, she yearned for those peaceful days. Yu, I promise you that when the time comes, I'll live a simple life with Grandpa and the others. Lin Ling nodded. He didn't expect that a simple and peaceful life would sometimes be an extravagant hope for him. Time passed quietly, and the first day passed uneventfully. Unfortunately, they didn't see the arrival of the Hong Meng cloud. Early in the morning of the second day, a large number of people appeared. Since everyone is gathered here, could it be that something is going to happen? An extremely beautiful woman asked. Behind her was a familiar face. It was none other than young Master Heaven Hater. Young Master Heaven Hater had come here out of curiosity. But he immediately discovered a familiar face. It was Lin Ling. Soon after, he also noticed Feng Moyang. At this moment, Feng Moyang was leaning on Lin Ling, which made him extremely jealous. Heaven-hating young master. The beautiful woman's expression changed. She knew that the heaven-hater young master hated Lin Ling the most. She didn't expect that Lin Ling would also be here. So it's young Master Hentian. The Yellow Emperor and the others also recognized young Master Heaven-hater and couldn't help but smile. Heaven-hating Prince, do you want to know what's going to happen here? Lin Ling looked at young Master Heaven-hater with a faint smile on his face. Young Master Heaven-hater clenched his teeth. He was extremely displeased with Lin Ling. If he had the chance, he would definitely defeat Lin Ling and trample Lin Ling under his feet. However, he knew that it was impossible here because the gods here were all Lin Ling's people. I don't want to know, and I'm not interested in knowing. Lin Ling, I know what you mean. You want me to beg you, right? However, you're overthinking it. I, young Master Heaven-hater, will beg the heavens and the earth, but I will never beg you. I will never compromise with you. Young Master Heaven-hater said coldly. He was a prideful person and an alien of the universe. He couldn't lower his head and compromise with Lin Ling. To him, this was a humiliation. Up to you. Lin Ling smiled faintly. He didn't expect young Master Heaven-hater to be so extreme. In fact, if the Hong Meng cloud had appeared and young Master Heaven-hater wanted to enter, Lin Ling wouldn't have bothered. After all, Lin Ling wasn't the only one who could enter the 7th level. However, he didn't expect young Master Heaven-hater to be so prideful. He would rather miss the opportunity than lower his head. However, I can tell you that we are here to wait for the path to the 7th level. Lin Ling pondered for a moment and said directly. Young Master Heaven-hater's expression changed. In fact, he had already guessed this before. After all, the strongest experts of the 6th level were gathered here. Unless there was an absolute treasure, how could it attract them? And a treasure that could move all the experts, could it be the path to the 7th level? However, he had only guessed at that time. That was why he had sent someone to ask. If the Hong Meng cloud had appeared, you wouldn't have used this opportunity to enter the 7th level? Lin Chen asked with a smile. He wanted to see if this young Master Heaven-hater was really so prideful. Young Master Heaven-hater's expression changed slightly. How could he not want to enter the 7th level? However, if he said he wanted to, wouldn't that mean he owed Lin Ling a favor? That would be the same as compromising with Lin Ling and begging for Lin Ling's help. What a joke! Who do you think I am? If I want to enter the 7th level, I don't need anyone to remind me. If I don't enter this time, I will enter again next time. What's the big deal? Young Master Heaven-hater said proudly. You really have a backbone. However, you have to know that the next appearance of the Hong Meng cloud might take 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 100 million years. Moreover, you can't guarantee that you will be able to wait for the Hong Meng cloud every time. Maybe at some point, the Hong Meng cloud will appear and you will just brush past it. Lin Ling said with a smile. Young Master Heaven-hater opened his mouth wide. His previous bold words were undoubtedly shaken. Young Master Heaven-hater, he's right. The beauties behind young Master Heaven-hater immediately persuaded him. I thought you had a backbone. Aren't you the same? The Yellow Emperor and the others sneered and looked at young Master Heaven-hater mockingly. In their opinion, this young Master Heaven-hater was obviously inferior to Lin Ling, but he refused to admit defeat. He wanted to save face and suffer. Moreover, young Master Heaven-hater wanted to pursue Feng Moyang, But he didn't know that Feng Moyang was Yu Yu and had many years of feelings for Lin Ling. You guys don't need to say any more. I won't beg him. Young Master Heaven Hater suddenly looked at Feng Moyang and angrily shouted. After saying that, he flicked his sleeves and left. Young Master. The beauties following him anxiously shouted and then chased after him. They sighed in their hearts. Although Lin Ling had snatched Feng Moyang, he had also said the way to enter the 7th level. Why was young Master Heaven Hater so arrogant? Now, the opportunity had appeared with great difficulty, but he had missed it because of his face. The next time he wanted to enter the 7th level, who knows how many years he would have to wait. This person really wants to save face. Seeing young Master Heaven Hater disappear, Lin Ling shook his head and smiled. He actually didn't have much hatred for young Master Heaven Hater. After all, no matter how bright and famous the latter was, he was still below Lin Ling. Moreover, Yu Yu had returned, so young Master Heaven Hater couldn't be considered an enemy. Of course, if young Master Heaven Hater was stubborn and insisted on snatching Yu Yu back, Lin Ling wouldn't be polite to him. At that aura, while thinking, Lin Ling's face suddenly changed. After thinking for a while, his heart finally became serious. He knew that a great enemy had arrived at the 6th level. He's here. Chapter 53:31. Lin Ling could sense the faint aura. The aura was extremely ancient and it was like a pair of eyes looking at the entire world. Moreover, the Pangu real body in his body was also restless as if it was being summoned by something. Senior Zhu Chuan, how long will it take for the Hongmeng cloud to arrive? Lin Ling asked Zhu Chuan immediately. 1 more day. However, I'm not too sure. Anyway, it's either today or tomorrow. It definitely won't be later than tomorrow. Zhu Chuan replied. When he saw Lin Ling's grave expression, he quickly asked, "Did something happen?" "There's some trouble." Lin Ling nodded. He was still trying to sense the mysterious aura. When the rest of the people saw Lin Ling's expression, they felt a little worried. With Lin Ling's current strength, he could do whatever he wanted on the 6th level. Moreover, there were so many of them. Lin Ling should not be so serious. Unless his strength was beyond everyone's imagination. Lin Ling did not reply to the rest of the people. He was still trying to sense the aura. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. "I know you're here. I've finally found you." The voice was cold and deep, but it made Lin Ling's forehead break out in cold sweat. He could sense that the owner of the voice was even stronger than before. He reckoned that even the strong cultivators in the square prison might not be a match for him. This person was the red-haired man that he had met in the underworld. Back then, Lin Ling had snatched the Pangu body from him. At that time, he was lucky. However, he knew that the red-haired man had been looking for him. Now, the red-haired man had finally caught up with him. If he fell into the red-haired man's hands, Lin Ling knew that he would not end well. "Everyone hide your aura." At the thought of this, Lin Ling quickly shouted. "Brother Ling, what's wrong?" Yu Yu asked worriedly when she saw Lin Ling's anxious voice. "A powerful enemy is here. He's looking for me on the 6th level." Lin Ling said solemnly. "Could it be that Mother's men are here?" Yu Yu's expression changed instantly. "No, it's a mysterious expert from the underworld. This person isn't the god of the underworld, nor is he the great god who guards the underworld. He's an unknown ancient god. Even the god of the underworld can't control him." Lin Ling said solemnly. Everyone's expression changed. "Was troublesome. The underworld." Zhu Chuan frowned and suddenly guessed. Could it be the disaster taboo? "Who's the underworld?" Lin Ling asked. "I've only heard the legends of calamity from the older generation of the giant god clan. As for where they came from, I'm not too sure. All I know is that this person has an undying body. Even after death, he can be resurrected in the underworld. No one in the 3 realms can control him. It is said that when the universe was first created, he was formed by a cosmic calamity. Even the creator god of the universe was helpless against him." Zhu Chuan said solemnly, "I don't know if the red-haired man you mentioned is Hua Ji or not, but if you're talking about the underworld's unusual creatures, Hua Ji is definitely one of them. Immortal body. Is there really such a god?" The Yellow Emperor could not help but ask. In fact, he already knew the answer. To mortals, these gods were immortal and indestructible, but that was only relative. The hell of mortals couldn't control their life and death, but the underworld could. Moreover, the underworld didn't imprison the souls of mortals, so mortals didn't know about it. Since the underworld was not afraid of the underworld, it was clear that the underworld was powerful. During the great calamity of the world's will, the divine altar had collapsed and the immortals had fallen. Who could escape the curse of immortality? Even the great gods of the universe would not dare to say that they were immortal. Even the legendary creator of the universe could fall. Otherwise, how could the world's will sweep through the universe? Immortality does exist, but we don't know if the red-haired man is the underworld god. Zhu Chuan sighed. Let's do as the Lord says. Hide your auras as much as possible. Don't let the red-haired man discover you. Hearing this, everyone nodded and completely concealed their auras. Fortunately, the 6th level was very big, especially for gods who had just come to the 6th level. It was impossible to explore the entire 6th level in a short time. This bought Lin Ling and the others some time. I hope the Hongmeng cloud will come soon. Lin Ling muttered to himself. He held Yuyu's hand and sat down cross-legged. Yuyu could sense that Lin Ling's palms were sweaty. She had not seen Lin Ling so nervous in a long time. Even when he was fighting against Nuo, Lin Ling had not shown such an attitude. On the other side, a large number of demons were moving forward. They were following a red-haired man. This man was very thin and weak. His red hair was like a sea urchin. There were many strange green tattoos on his body. These tattoos had the symbol of a sun as the center and extended in all directions like tree roots. Master, have you found him? A 5-meter-tall demon with a crocodile head asked in a low voice. I'm sure he's on this level. He's also found me and is hiding now. The red-haired man licked his lips and smiled evilly. Ever since this person stole my Panga's real body, I was forced out of the netherworld and had to travel all over the world. But in the end, I found you here. This time, don't even think about escaping. Master, after so many years, we've finally found him. The other demons cheered and continued to move forward to search for Lin Ling. They were very fast and spread across the 6th level like a plague. All the gods they met along the way were intimidated by their aura and fled far away. The slower ones were killed immediately. Master, I found him. He's over there. After an unknown period of time, a slippery, earthworm-like fiendish demon rushed out from the ground. This group of demons was indeed terrifyingly powerful. The 6th level was so big, but they could still find Lin Ling in such a short time. Have you found him? The red-haired man stuck out his tongue and let out a strange androgynous voice. He led the group of demons in the direction of Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling and the others had been waiting for an entire night. But early the next morning, large amounts of Hongmeng clouds finally arrived on the mountain. Everyone was overjoyed. Hurry! Lin Ling looked at the Hongmeng clouds rolling down the dragon mountain like fog and shouted in his heart. But at this moment, his expression changed. The Panga's real body had obviously sensed something. Oh no, the red-haired man is here. This shout made everyone panic. Zhu Chuan hurriedly said, Let's go. We'll go to the Hongmeng clouds. Let's hope we're not too late. Lin Ling nodded and led the group in the direction of the Hongmeng clouds. But just as they reached the Hongmeng clouds, the demonic aura in front of them shot up into the sky. The aura was terrifying. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. He could sense that this aura was very familiar. It was the group of demons from the underworld back then. Then, he looked around and indeed, he saw a familiar figure among the demons. The red-haired man. At the same time, the red-haired man saw Lin Ling and laughed heartily. However, he had just arrived at the 6th level and didn't seem to know the use of the Hongmeng clouds. Chapter 53:32. Ah, kid, I've finally found you. The red-haired man laughed loudly, calling for all the demons to stop in their tracks. The battle formation on his side was extremely terrifying. Demons of all sizes gathered together, waving their arms in the air. Their aura was monstrous. They were very strong, like the most ancient group of demons in the world. Even though they were far away, the Yellow Emperor and the others still felt a sense of fear. Where did these demons come from? Lei Gong said solemnly. He had lived for several centuries and had seen all kinds of demons. Sometimes, demons were just ants to him. However, this was the first time he had seen such ancient demons. They came from the underworld. However, they don't seem to have discovered the Hongmeng cloud. Let's stall for time as much as possible. Lin Ling secretly reminded everyone. He was not surprised by the strength of these demons. After all, when he had explored the underworld, he knew that these demons came from the bottom of the underworld. Everyone nodded. This red-haired man probably hadn't been in the Dao Pagoda for long and was unfamiliar with many things. Naturally, he didn't know about the Hongmeng cloud. "Kid, where's my thing?" The red-haired man shouted again. He was also secretly probing for Lin Ling's aura. Strangely, when he had just arrived on the 6th floor, he could still sense Pangu's true body. Now, the feeling was very weak. "Senior, Pangu's true body is still with me. However, don't act recklessly. Otherwise, I will destroy Pangu's true body." Lin Ling revealed a panicked expression. "Then destroy it. Destroy it for me to see." The red-haired man laughed disdainfully. He knew that Pangu's true body would not be destroyed so easily. However, he could also see that Lin Ling was clearly panicking. Even though Lin Ling had many experts on his side, the red-haired man knew that these experts were still not enough to deal with him. "Senior, don't you want to know what star level Pangu's true body is at?" Lin Ling stole a glance at the Hongmeng cloud. Seeing that it was getting closer and closer, he could only continue to stall for time. "Could it be that you've improved Pangu's true body?" Sure enough, when he mentioned Pangu, the red-haired man's eyes lit up and his face was filled with curiosity. He knew that if he wanted to upgrade Pangu's true body, the treasures required would definitely be special. Ordinary treasures would not be able to do so. Of course, in addition to this, he was also very curious about the mystique Lin Ling cultivated. After all, in the past, he had tried to refine Pangu's true body for many years, but he still hadn't succeeded. However, that brat had managed to do it the moment he came and successfully obtained Pangu's true body. This meant that the brat cultivated a mystique. It was definitely left behind by the Panga clan. Right now, Pangu's true body is at the level of 8 stars. Lin Ling said indifferently. The red-haired man's face lit up with excitement. "Senior, if you want to obtain the 8-star Pangu's true body, it probably won't be easy." Lin Ling said again. How about this? If you tell me the mystique you cultivate, I can spare your life." The red-haired man stated his purpose. It was indeed difficult for him to refine the 8-star Pangu's true body. He definitely needed the corresponding cultivation technique of the Panga clan. "I cultivate the Pangu attack. After cultivating it to the extreme, I can temporarily transform into Pangu's true body. It's because of this that I refined Pangu's true body." Lin Ling nodded and continued to tempt the red-haired man. "However, I've already upgraded Pangu's true body to the level of 8 stars. If I let you take it back just like that, I feel like I'm still at a disadvantage. Are you bargaining with me?" The red-haired man narrowed his eyes. "I wouldn't dare. It's just that I've handed over the Pangu clan's mystique and handed over the Pangu's true body to you. I should more or less get something in return." Lin Ling hurriedly smiled and said, "Senior, you're an ancient ruler. You won't be so stingy. Don't haggle with me." No one has ever stolen a treasure from me. You're the first. With this crime, I can kill you 1,000 times over. You still want the treasure?" The red-haired man snorted. When the crowd saw Lin Ling haggling like this, they secretly wiped the sweat off Lin Ling's forehead. If he angered that mysterious expert and the other party came to kill them, they would not be able to stop him. Especially when the Hongmeng cloud was right in front of them. Couldn't Lin Ling say something nice to stall for time? "Senior, it's not easy for me either. If you're not willing to do anything, then I'll give up my life and die with the mystique." Lin Ling gritted his teeth as if he was going to throw caution to the wind. He knew that this red-haired man wasn't stupid. If he went along with everything, the other party would become suspicious and haggle instead. This would give people a more realistic feeling. Moreover, haggling was perfect for stalling for time. And the truth was indeed so. The red-haired man was actually a bit suspicious. Lin Ling and such a large group of people were gathered there, but they didn't run or fight. They just stood there. This was too strange. After all, Lin Ling alone knew that he couldn't run, but why didn't the others run? This matter had nothing to do with them. However, Lin Ling's mystique and the 8-star Pangu true body had indeed moved the red-haired man's heart. Fine, I'll give you a cosmic core. It can raise your cultivation by 2 major realms. The red-haired man pondered for a moment and nodded. However, you must hand over the Pangu race's mystique. Hearing this, the Yellow Emperor and the others were secretly shocked. They didn't expect Lin Ling to have made the right bet. This red-haired man didn't attack. Cosmic core. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. He pretended to be excited and rubbed his hands. Senior, can you give it to me now? Kid, don't you know the rules? The red-haired man frowned. Wasn't this kind of transaction a one-time transaction? I'm afraid that you'll kill me if I tell you the mystique. Why don't you give me the cosmic core now? I'll memorize the mystique and put it on the ground. Then I'll leave immediately. Lin Ling said with a smile, showing that he was very afraid of the red-haired man. However, he wasn't wrong in thinking this way. One had to be careful when dealing with experts. Anyone would be like this. But the red-haired man pondered for a moment and nodded. He didn't plan to trade with Lin Ling at all. As long as he got the mystique, Lin Ling would be dead for sure. In this place, Lin Ling wouldn't be able to escape no matter how powerful his mystique was. Moreover, he was afraid that if he forced Lin Ling to commit suicide, he would lose more than he gained. After all, he could kill Lin Ling and seize the Pangu's true body, but he wouldn't get the mystique. A star-like stone appeared in his hand. The red-haired man admired it for a while and then reluctantly pushed the treasure to Lin Ling. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. He was just stalling for time. He didn't expect to get such a pleasant surprise. There was no reason to reject a gift from someone else. He suppressed his excitement and waited for the stone to float over. Then, he picked it up and looked at it carefully. This stone was about the size of a thumb and was as bright as a star. Although it wasn't big, there was a strong power suppressed inside. It was as if he was holding the universe. Chapter 53:33. The heart of the universe is formed from an immature universe when the universe was first created. This is a universe created by heaven and earth, not a universe cultivated by gods. Its power is beyond your imagination. The red-haired man said proudly. He stared at the heart of the universe in Lin Ling's hand with reluctance in his eyes. He had obtained this heart of the universe after 3,000 years of waiting in the netherworld. How could he give it away so easily? Although he was giving it to Lin Ling so generously, in his opinion, it was just for Lin Ling to play with. The heart of the universe. The Yellow Emperor and the others looked envious. This was the first time they had heard of such a treasure. However, this thing was formed from an immature universe. This was enough to show how precious the heart of the universe was. Now, the Pangu strike should be passed to me. The red-haired man said indifferently. Lin Ling excitedly put away the heart of the universe, then took out a spirit stone and slowly chanted in his heart. Only then did he throw the engraved Pangu strike to the red-haired man. Of course, when he chanted, he deliberately slowed down a lot. He could already see the Hong Meng cloud around them. After the red-haired man received it, he gave it a rough look. Seeing that it was indeed a mystical cultivation technique, he finally relaxed. It's time to hand over the Pangu's true body. The red-haired man said again. This time, he didn't hide his ambition and revealed his killing intent. The best way to get the Pangu's true body is to kill you. You want to kill me? Lin Ling looked in front of him and saw that the Hong Meng cloud was less than 10 meters away. It would probably bring them to the 7th level soon. Of course. Didn't you say that you would give me the Pangu clan's cultivation technique and the Pangu's true body? You've already given me the cultivation technique, but you haven't given me the Pangu's true body, so I must kill you. The red-haired man laughed loudly, causing the surrounding demons to laugh as well. They seemed to be mocking Lin Ling's ignorance for daring to make a deal with an almighty like the red-haired man. Are you going to say that I lied to you? You entered the netherworld and stole my Pangu's true body. I haven't settled that debt with you yet. Killing you and obtaining your cultivation technique are just interest. The red-haired man's laughter became louder and louder. When he thought about how Yi Han had stolen Pangu's true body, he was extremely unhappy. But now, this unhappiness had completely dissipated. However, the red-haired man, Lin Yellow Emperor and the others, calm, and the other people. As expected, the red-haired man's face sank. He didn't like being interrupted when he was doing something, and he didn't like being mocked even more. The red-haired man said in a low voice. Lin Ling shook his head and laughed. Sorry, what I gave you is actually a fake cultivation technique. If you cultivate it, don't talk about Pangu's true body. You might even self-destruct. You dare lie to me? The red-haired man took out the spirit stone and studied it carefully. He cultivated the beginning and immediately felt that something was wrong. He angrily smashed the spirit stone. You're not lying to me too, Lin Ling retorted. The red-haired man's expression changed. Finally, he revealed a ferocious expression. Forget it. I'll kill you. I have my own ways to obtain your cultivation technique. It's just that this path is a bit risky. But you forced me. Sorry, it's a bit late to kill me now. Lin Ling still smiled calmly. He could feel his body beginning to disintegrate. This was a sign of going to the next level. However, the red-haired man and the others were not familiar with the Dao Pagoda. They still hadn't reacted. They looked at each other and laughed again. Too late? With the red-haired man's strength, how could it be too late to kill these people? The red-haired man wanted to say something, but his expression changed instantly. In his eyes, Lin Ling's body began to disperse, turning into golden powder. It wasn't just Lin Ling. The densely packed people around him were the same. Then, they all dissipated into the mist. My lord, look. All the fiendish demons started yelling when they saw this scene. They all saw that Lin Ling and the others had disappeared. Moreover, there was a large amount of mist around Lin Ling and the others. In fact, they had seen this mist a long time ago. However, they came from the underworld and were fearless. Naturally, they didn't care about the mist. But they didn't expect that the mist would take Lin Ling and the others and disappear. Where do you think you're going? The red-haired man shouted angrily. A large amount of red clouds shot out from his body and quickly drowned Lin Ling. But it was too late. The red-haired man didn't sense anything. It was as if Lin Ling and the others had never appeared. Their auras had vanished. What's going on? The red-haired man was also stunned. At this moment, he also saw several figures rushing into the mist and gradually disappearing. If Lin Ling and the others were still here, they would definitely realize that these people were young Master Heaven Hater. While Lin Ling and the others were leaving, they had also rushed into the 7th level. Although this was like following Lin Ling's footsteps, it was extremely embarrassing. But at this time, they had to do it no matter how embarrassing it was. When he felt his body disintegrate and was about to dissipate with the wind, young Master Heaven Hater finally relaxed. He suddenly looked at the red-haired man and said, Sir, you have been tricked. This is the Hong Meng Cloud. It can bring people into the 7th level. Lin Ling and the others have gone to the 7th level. Moreover, the Hong Meng Cloud at the 6th level has already disappeared. You can't catch up to them. After he said this, young Master Heaven Hater and the others also disappeared. The red-haired man was still in a daze, but he heard young Master Heaven Hater's words clearly. Lin Ling and the others had left. They had gone to the 7th level. In other words, Lin Ling and the others had been quietly waiting there. It wasn't that they had nowhere to run, but that they had been waiting for the Hong Meng Cloud. No wonder Lin Ling had spoken so much nonsense before. It turned out that he had been stalling for time. You dare to trick me? After thinking it through, the red-haired man roared. Then he was stunned. His eyes darted around as he thought of a key point. His cosmic exquisite heart. I will kill you. Now, the red-haired man finally realized that he had suffered a great loss. On the other side, endless golden dust drifted in the void. It gradually condensed, turning into figures. Lin Ling opened his eyes. This feeling of being transmitted through the Tao Pagoda was still marvelous to him. As he opened his eyes, everything appeared in front of him. What shocked Lin Ling was that the 7th level was completely different from what he had seen before. This place was like an immortal paradise. The blue sky and white clouds, the high mountains and flowing water, the chirping of birds and the fragrance of flowers, all of this proved that this place was not like the crueler 7th level. One had to know that the Tao Pagoda had 9 levels. So far, no one had reached the 9th level. Therefore, the 7th level was the penultimate level. All kinds of great gods in the universe were gathered there, and the competition was extremely fierce. Therefore, shouldn't the 7th level be filled with billowing smoke and darkness? Chapter 53-34. Everyone stood on the ground and looked around in disbelief. The 7th floor was quiet and serene, unlike the second half of the Tao Pagoda where competition was fierce. Everyone, disperse! Lin Ling shouted to the crowd. With such a large group of people gathered, it was easy to become the focus of attention, especially when they were not clear about the situation on the 7th floor. It was better to be careful. In Lin Ling's opinion, the 7th floor was definitely filled with countless powerhouses. There were the 9 great stars of the universe, the host body of the world's will, the 3 great god gates of White Mountain, the 12 god races, and so on. Moreover, many powerhouses had come from the primal chaos boundary. The 8 great god generations definitely had their own orthodoxies here. In such a world filled with powerhouses, it was better to keep a low profile at the beginning. Lord Lin Ling will leave first. If there's anything, we can contact each other through the sound transmission talisman. Lord Lin Ling will take our leave. The crowd dispersed one after another, forming a small group of a dozen people. Lin Ling brought along Yu Yu, Lei Gong, Qing Zhu, elder brother Zhu Chuan, and the others. The 7th floor is very, very big, and there should be many powerhouses gathered here. But why didn't they go to the 8th floor? There must be some secret behind this. Elder brother Zhu Chuan said. If it's the 8th floor, it should be the battlefield of the various rulers, and the 7th floor is the battlefield of the strongest powerhouses below the rulers. It's just that we don't know what kind of strength the powerhouses here have. Lin Ling nodded. Although he was an initial stage universe giant god, his combat power was so strong that he was not afraid of late stage universe giant gods. Especially if he used the square prison, he estimated that he could fight against rulers. But Lin Ling still knew that with his strength, he could only be considered average on the 7th floor. Big brother Ling, it seems very quiet here. Yu Yu looked around. Although the surroundings were not as cruel as she had imagined, this tranquility gave people a strange feeling. Shio. Suddenly, a meteor streaked across the sky. Even under the blue sky, this ray of light was still dazzling. The meteor smashed into the ground, causing the earth to tremble. Originally, Lin Ling had wanted to follow Zhu Chuan to search for the giant god tribe, but he was frightened by the sudden arrival of this meteor. They could all sense that this meteor was clearly not ordinary. The speed at which it fell carried with it the power of the universe. Let's go take a look, Lei Gong suggested. Everyone's interest was also piqued. Thinking that there were so many people here, even if an accident happened, they probably wouldn't be able to handle it. After that, everyone flew toward the place where the meteor had landed. After a while, they stood on a hill and looked down at the front. They saw a huge hole in the ground where the meteor had exploded. A large amount of dense fog filled the hole. When they looked carefully, they saw a strange jade rui lying in the big hole. This jade scepter was about as thick as an adult's arm, and it emitted a mysterious aura. It seemed like the aura of the universe, but it also seemed like the power of the gods. From the looks of it, this treasure seems to be a divine artifact. Furthermore, it's a mid-level divine artifact. Zhu Chuan shouted in shock after sensing it for a moment. Lin Ling and the others immediately revealed strange expressions. They should have just arrived at the 7th level and then encountered a rare divine artifact. One had to know that divine artifacts were extremely rare. Among them, only Lin Ling had the Quafu Sunchaser boots and Xinggui Yi's Donghuang bell. Of course, these 2 divine artifacts were both chaotic grade, and were of a higher grade than divine artifacts. Hee, looks like our luck is pretty good. Taoist master of many treasures had controlled a large number of treasures in the past. Now that he saw a divine artifact, he couldn't help but be moved. He floated over, wanting to bring out the jade scepter. However, when his power of the gods landed on the jade scepter, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. It didn't move at all. What's going on? Does this divine artifact already have an artifact spirit? Taoist master of many treasures frowned. Generally speaking, most divine artifacts had artifact spirits, but there were also differences in strength. Individual artifact spirits could devour their masters and were extremely powerful. Of course, most divine artifacts only had ordinary spirituality and weren't very terrifying. However, the jade scepter in front of them was somewhat different. It could resist, and was obviously extraordinary. Taoist master of many treasures, be careful. Lin Ling couldn't help but remind him. Don't worry. Taoist master of many treasures had played with treasures his entire life, so how could he let them ride on his head? He activated the world will and formed a ray of light that enveloped the jade scepter. Taoist master of many treasures world will had just stepped into the immemorial grade, and it was the power of devouring. One had to know that the world will's 3 grades were the universe grade and the immemorial grade. It was already very powerful to be able to reach the immemorial grade. After all, even Lin Ling's world will was only at the immemorial grade, so it was naturally stronger than Taoist master of many treasures. A gourd appeared in Taoist master of many treasures' hand and swallowed the jade scepter. As long as he swallowed it, Taoist master of many treasures was confident that he could control it. Above the hole, the jade scepter began to sway, but it didn't absorb Taoist master of many treasures' world will. Boom! Suddenly, an explosion resounded, and a dazzling light bloomed. A powerful impact sent Taoist master of many treasures flying. Taoist master of many treasures. Everyone shouted in unison. Taoist master of many treasures flew back in a sorry state and said solemnly, "Something's wrong. This jade scepter seems to be a person. Why can't I control it?" Everyone felt that it was very strange, and then they stared in front of them. They saw the light gradually converging, and then a figure soared into the sky with an extremely fierce aura. It was a pure white eagle that was as huge as a mountain. Its sharp claws were aimed at Taoist master of many treasures, and with a sweep of its wings, a gale exploded. The most unbelievable thing was that the eagle's eyes were coldly staring at everyone, giving them a crazy and bloodthirsty feeling. What's going on? Everyone's expression changed greatly. They were all gods who had seen a lot of things, so they weren't surprised by the eagle. What shocked them was that the jade scepter, which was clearly a divine artifact, had suddenly turned into a demonic beast. This is a divine beast. Zhu Chuan suddenly said solemnly, "Moreover, this divine beast has already heard the great Tao." Senior Zhu Chuan, what is hearing the great Tao? Yu Yu immediately asked. Hearing the great Tao means that this divine artifact once heard the great God of the universe talk about the great Tao of the universe, and it comprehended its own Tao, which is why it can transform into a spirit. Taoist master of many treasures knew some things. In that case, it is no longer a divine artifact, but a divine beast, and it is very likely that it will transform into a human in the future. Yu finally reacted. Everyone be careful. At this time, Lei Gong suddenly shouted. The white feathered eagle in the sky let out a fierce cry and swept down with a fierce gale. Although this eagle was formed by the jade scepter, its strength wasn't weak, and its sharp claws contained a large amount of divine power, which could ignore a large number of attacks. Originally, Lei Gong and the others still wanted to attack, but they sensed the eagle's strength and dodged. Bang! The eagle swept across the sky, forming a gale that was like a cosmic hurricane, causing Lei Gong and the others to be smashed into the distance in a sorry state. However, Lei Gong and the others were existences who had experienced hundreds of battles, and just as they stabilized themselves, they used powerful techniques to counterattack.